Hey, I guess we're live here. Hello and welcome, everybody. It's DH Thorne, and I'm joined by the impeccably lovely, dragon ensorcelled, I guess it would be like a Leviathan ensorceling, Kamila Thorne, my wife.
My necklace, yeah, it's technically a dragon, but it's my Leviathan.
I thought I was your Leviathan. Oh.
Of course you're my Leviathan.
Hey. Of course, you're all the way out in the freaking shop. How would anybody know?
Exactly.
So, it's better for the audio this way, and she gets better lighting that way, and, you know.
And I get to work on things.
And you get to work on things. Everybody else gets to... Actually, you're going to be putting some stuff up soon, which will be nice.
Yes.
So,
I was actually going to do it today, but I had trouble with some epoxy.
I've been so lazy. I have stuff I could put up, but I just don't. Just stuff that's not quite done. Projects that I never started that I meant to. Oh, that's that ADHD and depression crap. You know how it is.
Oh yeah.
So,
well, you know, I have something for another part of my projects that I've been looking for about a month, and I can't find. So it's like I can't finish anything until I find it.
Yep, there is that. Living in a small place with a bunch of clutter fucks like we are. I like that, clutter fuck. That's the new word. Clutter fucks. We're clutter fucks, everybody. Welcome to the clutter fuck channel. Let's change it.
It's similar to chuckle fuck, but it's different, you know.
Yeah. Chuckling clutter fucks. That's it. Write it down.
There we go. That's our
Immortalize it. Put it in stone, kind of like the Georgia Guidestones until they got blown up. The chuckling clutterfucks. What's up, everybody? So we got Star Ruby Corsi, Nina the Mystic. Nina, my condolences for losing the ability to have free speech. We love Nina here. The Blue Wrench. Canada just announced, or they're looking into silencing people with questionable opinions. They're going to be not only doing that publicly, but also with your private messages. So Canada is about to go over the edge. I say that not in... I don't mean to be so glib about it. It is absolutely ass. That is garbage.
Yeah.
And you know, Nina, I mean, if there's anything we can do to help you, you've been a great help to us. You know, let me know if there's any way,
do not hesitate,
that we can reasonably help you. We'll do what we can. I feel like, you know, it's worse than a third world country brewing up there. It's like you guys are going off into like crazy land. Crack Bites here, Go-Go's here. CJ Anger, it's been a while. Wyatt is here, of course. Krasinski's here. Joffrey 524 is here, or Joffer. And I think that's everybody. If I miss anybody,
usually that's said Jeff.
Is that Jeff? I don't know. I always like saying Jeff.
F is usually Jeff. I went to school with a dude named Jeff, spelled that way.
Well, there's also the numbers, which could be like that could meant to be, you know. That could be like meant to be letters, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Sure. And Star Ruby, I think we got, and Psychic Humayara. What's up, Humayara? From the Cauldron Witch. Oh, who's that?
First, I want to say thank you so much for that 5-star review. I am thrilled that you are, and your friend is thrilled as well for that.
Yeah, you kind of made her day.
That really, that blew me away. I'm talking.
Yeah, you kind of made her day. It made her day a little bit. I was there when she saw it. So
it was almost an ugly cry, but the good kind.
Yeah, so I thought Jeff. Yeah, Jeff is British Jeff. Jeff. I mean, we don't mean it like that because Jeff is pretty cool, but yeah, I always think of what we do in the shadows whenever somebody says like my name is Jeff.
Jace.
Jace. No, we're kidding. It's not my fault they made it into a joke.
It's all in love.
Syncubus is here. They say, hey guys, what's up? Jafar Sabnu, SABNW is here. Let's see. And I think that Tess Marie is here. Atropa's here. What's up? Atropa, it's good to see you. Kramer Sigil is here. Hello from Set also, was just working with him, and the room is still filled with his energy.
Nice.
So, that was a bug. Yeah, I guess Beelzebub just entered the room. I'm surprised if he hits the fire there. So, yeah, we're not going to mince too many words tonight. We'll probably get pretty close to right into it. But obviously, most of you guys probably know that the subject, at least initially, of this conversation tonight will be the exciting, interesting, weird, spooky Some of you may not be happy about it. Some of you may be overjoyed, as I am. Well, I shouldn't say overjoyed. I do have certain thoughts about it. The bringing down of the monument to our doom, as some would put it, and others believe that it is a monument to a good idea. So we're going to be discussing some of that tonight. We'll probably, I'll probably have Kamila. Maybe she can go over what it says. Hey, what's up, Lamia? It's been a little while. Lamia Nightstorm is here. What's up?
Nice.
Damian Draco, what's up? So we're going to be going over some of the details, some of the good, the bad, and the very ugly of the Georgia Guidestones. Not as an expert. There's probably people who know quite a bit more than we do, obviously, about this subject. But I've known about this for going on, I don't know, probably more than 10 years. I've known about this thing, and it might be
the 15-year mark, huh?
I guess it's been a while since I first heard about it. Maybe it was like 2009 or 10.
Yeah, a little bit into our marriage.
Yeah, when we started really learning about some of this stuff.
Yep.
So,
well, I'll tell you what, I remember my first taste of such things was back in my college days. Back in 2002, I had a professor in my law classes that said, you all need to wake up. The Pentagon was not hit by a plane.
Mm-hmm. So, let's talk about this a little bit. I see some people are already talking about what it says and what it doesn't say. So, there's a lot going on here to unpack. First and foremost, it has become symbolic of the, we'll say, the grand package of the New World Order. Whether it is actually something New World Order people put there, or, you know, not, right? We don't know. We will never probably know. I don't think it's ever going to be known. But it became among, you know, we'll say truther circles, you know, conspiracy theorists, who you can make fun of, but they've got a pretty good track record right now, especially with what's going on in the world. Whether it's exactly what they said is going on doesn't matter. Their predictions, just like with any theory, if your theories end up having accurate predictions, are coming true. So you can't just be, oh, I dismiss this as a conspiracy theory anymore. You can't look at the I'm not even sure like how we would really say, like, if there's like categorical conspiracy theories, etc. But categorically, you know, here's the problem, you know, the government, the powers that be, the interested parties, whatever word you want to use for them, very happily make light of and probably create and encourage really, really crazy conspiracy theory type people, the flat earthers, the moon landing hoax people, this kind of stuff that's off the deep end, because it sort of says that, well, it makes everybody look crazy, right? When you have people who, it's literally the craziest thing ever that the earth is flat and there's no universe and we're living in a bubble and blah, blah, blah. That kind of stuff just immediately, when that is out there, then all you've got to do is connect an invisible line between the cuckoo and the legitimate conspiracy questions. When people hear the word conspiracy theories, they think that it's just some lunatic who thinks the earth is flat. Now, unfortunately, the fragment of truth that makes that deflection work is because people who are more prone to sort of realize conspiracy theories are also more inclined to believe goofy shit. There's something about them, us, me, whatever. We're more inclined to sort of notice strange shit, and we find it interesting. Sometimes it starts because when we were younger, we just liked, you know, sci-fi and horror and stuff. And we just sort of went, wouldn't it be cool if, and we had a vivid imagination. And as we were looking at reality unfolding around us, we noticed some patterns that were a little bit like some of the movies we liked, and we put two and two together, okay? Then you realize that there are things that, you know, like 1984 or the movie They Live. These movies are not they're not just fantasy entertainment, guys, especially 1984. These things are warnings. They're not just warnings of a what if variety. They're warnings of a, hey, we have specific information, but we don't want to tell you directly because no one would believe it. So let's make it fiction so when it starts coming true or something, people will realize it. That sounds nuts. That sounds insane, but that's actually what you have to do.
Well, you know, it's like when they say that The Simpsons predicted this. It's like, what if The Simpsons didn't really predict it and they were saying that it was going to happen?
Like, what if they knew certain things? Well, maybe they do. Maybe they don't. I will say this much. There's a saying, I forget who said it. I have it, I saved it as a meme somewhere. I'll have to find it. Whatever you think the government is doing that's really bad, it's doing so much worse than you could possibly imagine. Now, does that mean that it's, reptile people and all this other stuff? I reserve judgment to say probably not. But if it happened, I'd probably be one of those people, fuck, I knew it, right? Like, it would be like both. I'm very much on the, like, I don't want to sound like a fence sitter, but I'm like a fence sitter on that one. I don't think so. It sounds pretty ludicrous. It sounds flat earth to me. But I've seen some weird shit, guys. I've seen some really weird shit in my life. So that wouldn't actually be the weirdest necessarily thing that's ever come true. Just saying.
Speaking of flat earth, there was a good meme I saw today. It was, why do they still call it the hemisphere? Or the atmosphere? Why? I totally ruined it. I apologize.
You ruined it.
I totally ruined it.
You ruined it.
Why do the flat earthers still breathe in the atmosphere and not the atmosplat?
Oh, I like atmosphere. Gotcha. Atmosphere.
Yeah, there you go.
The atmosphere.
Atmosphere and not the atmosplat.
That's pretty good.
See, I tried to redeem myself.
Well, there's millions of flat earthers all around the world, all around the globe.
Yep.
All right. So, Saiki Humayara, if you want to give us some financial love and you can't get a super chat through, go to my Patreon. I hate Patreon, but you can do that. There's also Subscribe Star. They're a little bit less censorious and weird, but I don't check them as often. So
there's also some inexpensive products on our Etsy. Have something physical.
Yeah. Buy something, buy a book, buy something like that. If you want to support us, I appreciate you.
I have pendants up for like $20.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, before I get too far into some of this, Crackbite brings up nightmares. I got to tell you, when I was younger, symbolically, I predicted this coming age pretty much to the letter. Sometimes I'll be driving along and I'll remember some of the things that I told everybody about the future, the apocalypse that I thought was going to happen, and symbolically, it's all pretty much happened. So it's kind of crazy. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's very, very weird. Very frustrating, because it's like I saw it coming and I thought it was going to be monsters from another dimension, and it's, in a way, it is. I actually had a funny thought. It's almost like there really is two universes colliding of information. Like, you have people who believe one version of reality, you have people who believe another version of reality, and you have people who believe yet another version of reality. There's like three major groups, and there's obviously a spectrum between them, and they're all colliding right now. And you have the people who believe that everybody that's like me is evil and is a Nazi, and then you have people who think everybody who is, on the other side is like a commie, and then you have people in the middle going, why is everybody crazy? Mm-hmm. And nobody seems to understand fully what's going on, and nobody's going to know. That's the shitty thing about being a sheep or a slave or a serf. It's not for us to know the inner machinations. We'd probably, there's a reason why the wealthy and powerful are groomed for their whole life and generations to be wealthy and powerful. If you ever really take a look at what goes into it, how the stuff that they know, that they get introduced to. I can tell you, just from having behind the scenes conversations with famous people, just knowing people like EA and stuff like that, the reality behind the scenes is nothing like what you believe. Whenever you have things that have a public face to them, like government or media or entertainment, the public face is not reality. It never has been. So people will experience that stuff and think it's real, but the behind the scenes is always weirder. It's always crazier even. You know, there's often a lot going on that we just don't, we can't even comprehend because we haven't been initiated into it.
Yep.
We don't know all the weird shit that goes on. Okay. So, ultimately, guys, all we can do is sit back, use our intuition, speculate a little bit, you know, prophecy a little bit, and approach this from, especially if you can, a non-dual perspective where this is not the end of the world, because even if it is, you're the divine, it's okay. You came here for a reason, right? You came here for a reason. So, yeah, so apocalypse means basically revelation. It means to reveal, it means to awaken, it means to manifest, it means to make clear. Apocalypse doesn't mean end of the world, it means oh shit, that's kind of what it means. Okay, so this is a big revelation, isn't it?
Great awakening.
The Great Awakening is upon us, and it's pretty remarkable. Here we are in the age of Aquarius, right? Or pretty much there. It depends on who you listen to. We've either been in it for a while or we're still heading into it. Whatever, the transition's starting. And you know, the water bearer is pouring out the water of wisdom and knowledge and information on everybody. And you know, we opened the shadow gates in 2020, and a lot of people have at first thought that we caused everything to happen. It's like, well, I could sit there and take credit if I wanted to. I could be like, yes, that's right, I opened the gates and the world went to shit. Pay me money, bitches, and I'll turn them off or something. No, this is part of the revelation. The opening of the shadow gates, it plays a role in revealing what's going on. So just saying, guys, like, I don't know if you're starting to feel like you're figuring too much shit out, you're starting to realize if it's getting a little too real, oh well, that's inevitable anyway, whether it's my fault or not.
It's really funny when you have some normies come along and mention how crazy everybody's gotten, and they've noticed it since like the Koof era. Mm-hmm. Like there was you know her, I won't say any names on here, but a landscaper lady came in not long ago, and she was talking about how insane everybody's been ever since the Koof. Mm-hmm. Just flat out nuts, how things haven't normalized.
People are talking about how, you know, the good guys always write the history books. The bad guys, you know, the winners write the history books, so they're always the good guys. Here's a little clue. There are no good guys.
Yeah.
Okay? Stop with the good guys and bad guys. There's no good guys. The closest you come to a good person in the historical sense is someone who tried to liberate humanity. That's the closest you got. And there's never been anyone perfect at that. You can always point at someone and find a flaw. Nobody's been the good guys. Nobody's been the bad guys. And the good guys, if there were good guys, have had to do really unspeakably evil shit to get the good things to happen. Anybody who sits there and thinks that for example, you're a patriotic person, you love America. Anybody who sits there and thinks that the founding fathers were these, you know, super wholesome people with apple pie and all this shit, and doesn't realize that they were slaughtering people in their sleep, you know, and doing some of the most heinous shit in the world imaginable to get this nation founded, you're dumb. You're just stupid. Yep. You know, like you've swallowed, you know, brand A Kool-Aid. Now, if you're on the other side of that and you think the founding fathers were evil people who, you know, we had slavery and we can't trust anything and blah, 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 blah. Well, you've swallowed brand B Kool-Aid and you think that they're evil. They're two different kinds of Kool-Aid. They're both stupid. Okay. They're both wrong. The reality is, you know, what happened, one could even say that was a Luciferian Enlightenment situation that happened. The Enlightenment era, you know, is often given, the stupid conservative Christians like to take credit for it. If it was up to them, it never would have happened. You know, a lot of my critics think that I am, that I'm somehow conservative or Christian or some shit, or that I like Republicans or something. Is it a fact that there's a lot of those people that I like? Yes. Does that mean that I like them as a class? No. Just because a lot of the people that I support happen to have an R by their name and there's only like one or two with a D that I would even think of considering supporting right now, doesn't mean that I am some kind of like, you know, aligned Republican person. I'm actually not. The idea of having Republicans and Christian conservatives take over gives me a fucking nightmare, second only, and that's why I'm siding with them, to what the opposite side is offering. That's the only reason why I seem so apologist towards them, is because I would much rather deal with a American flag, apple pie, Christian conservative supremacy than the other side. Okay, especially because I know that other side, I know their weakness. Okay, we know their weakness, and we know that most people don't want hardcore Christian conservative values. They just want a little bit more normalcy than what's been going on. The average person, morally speaking, is moderate. The average person is like sex, drugs, and rock and roll, but let's not go crazy with it. That's the average person, okay? Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, but I still want my Disney to not have child grooming weird shit in it or whatever the hell else, okay? I want you to have your drag queen show, but I don't want kids showing up at it. Stuff like that. That's the average person. I want abortions to be legal, but not at the 9th month, okay?
Most normal people just want their constitution upheld correctly.
People just want to be left alone, right? That's kind of what the Constitution's supposed to be promising. Now, again, not everything's gotten right, and we're in a tug of war right now, and the horrible irony of that tug of war is that in order to win that tug of war, there has to be a galvanization around some sort of a value, okay? And milquetoast values don't win wars. This is something, you can quote me on this. Milquetoast does not win wars. Moderates don't win wars. Extremists do.
Yeah.
In every part of history, it's the extremists that go to war. The moderates muddle through. So what has to happen, unfortunately, is, and I don't mean the furthest extreme, I mean an extreme, okay? Yeah. So there's like a critical mass that happens with a society that says that's too far that way, that's too far that way, and we're gonna galvanize around this. And I can tell you that although if you just live on Twitter all day or Facebook all day, you might not see it this way. But if you walk amongst the people, the consensus is not the global New World Order that is going to win. Because even though they have all the reins of power, the people don't want that. And they're starting to realize what's going on, and they're saying no. The problem is now is that it could galvanize under a hard Christian conservative kind of thing. And the unfortunate thing is it's got to galvanize somewhere to win. It's got to... The side that I agree with currently has appealed to the Christian conservatives as their army. Think of it like Dune, okay? For those of you who like the book or movie Dune, you know that one of the underlying plot lines is that the Atreides try to get the Fremen to join them, to be their army. Well, of course, the Atreides house is destroyed before they can do this, except for Paul and a few people left over. So what he does is he goes to them, becomes one of them, becomes their messiah, even though he doesn't believe all of their shit, right? He doesn't believe in Shai-Hulud and all this stuff. Not once in the book does he show any kind of belief in Shai-Hulud. But they treat him as the messiah, as the Holy One, as the Lisan al-Gaib, the voice from the outer world. So he becomes a Fremen, and all their beliefs become the galvanizing force for the army that is the only thing that can face the Sardaukar, who are equally insane. The Sardaukar are insane, okay? They're completely, that's the Emperor's forces. They are brainwashed to be suicidal defenders of the Emperor. So Muad'Dib gets the Fremen to be his suicidal army.
Real quick, yeah. I just want to touch on a comment in the chat. Billy Madison, I really hope you saw the video of the lightning striking the Guidestones, because it absolutely was not lightning. No, it was definitely an explosive. And you could see the car drive away and everything else.
I mean, I know there's like memes going on. It was lightning. It was like a weapon, energy weapon, and all this. It wasn't. It definitely wasn't. They definitely had somebody stuck a freaking an explosive on the back of it.
It was very clear.
I mean, you can get granite. Like, I know people who used to work in South America clearing granite and marble and stuff. And there's like little things you can get. You drill a hole, put it in, boom, and it blows it up. It's pretty. I mean, it was pretty powerful.
Doesn't take much to do it.
Well, I mean, it does though. Granite's actually one of the strongest stones there is. So that's why you make things out of granite, because granite don't break easy. You don't just hit it with a hammer and it breaks. Okay?
No.
That took a lot to do what they did to that. That took a lot more than people realize. But it was totally feasible if you've got a mining company, if you've got it. They're probably searching. I don't want to get too far from the weeds. I want to finish that Dune comment. They're probably doing research on people in the area who own mining and demolition stuff, okay? And they might find them because of that. So don't be too surprised. All right, anyway. So what is going on is the opposition to the New World Order, whatever you want to call them. The opposition to the New World Order, whether you want to say the Trump people, the nationalists, I don't give a fuck, whatever you want to call them, the ones who are organizing that, and it's not just one person, and it's not just one group of people, I'm pretty convinced that it's a worldwide operation. They have used, and I got to be careful what I say here because people get the wrong impression. They have used the same tactics that have always been used. That is a return to traditional values, becoming a hero of the people and their values, rising up as a hero of their religion and their traditional values to resist the onslaught of globalistic, corporatistic enemies. Okay, this is what happened in the Middle East. It's what happened. It's what happened in Weimar Germany. It's what's happening here. This is why people can, unfortunately, draw some comparative conclusions from what the opposition looks like here to Germany in the 1930s. Okay, they can say, "Oh, it's the rise of nationalism." Well, yes, as an opposition force to globalism. It doesn't mean it's necessarily bad.
No.
Nationalism can metastasize to bad, yes, for sure.
Normal nationalism is about a love of your country and putting your country first.
It's just like self-love. There's nothing wrong with loving yourself until you take it to extremes. If you love yourself to the point where you want to hurt other people, then that's not good. If you love yourself to the point where you're just going to make sure you're eating well before, and I do, obviously, you want to make sure you're eating well before you take care of other people, or you realize that you got to put your own oxygen mask on first before you help others, or anything like that. Look, is there anybody in this chat right now, or even my opponents, who would not take care of their immediate family before the neighbor? If push comes to shove, would you or would you not take care of your household first? That's the same idea.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with it. You know, nobody's going to expect you to sacrifice your family for somebody else's. Okay, that's absurd. Well, that's exactly what globalism says. Sacrifice yourself for the good of the world. Fuck you. All right. So anyway, let's get back to the Georgia Guidestones. Okay. Georgia Guidestones, like I said, I am not the foremost authority on them. Someone probably knows a lot more, but there are some interesting tidbits of information. Okay. Number one, the origin of the Georgia Guidestones, you know, I should probably bring up like at least the wiki of it. Not that wiki's that great, guys, but it gives me at least a place to have references.
I believe it was erected in 1979.
Yeah, so I think it was 80. You're close. It might have been 80 or 79. It doesn't matter. Okay, let's see. Okay, so here's the thing. Yeah, in 1979, I'm just going to read the Wikipedia article. And this is information I knew, but I wanted to just refresh so I can read it. Mm-hmm. A man using the pseudonym Robert C. Christian, that's interesting. We'll come back to that in a minute, approached the Elberton Granite Finishing Company on behalf of a small group of loyal Americans and commissioned the structure. Christian explained that the stones would function as a compass, calendar, and clock, and should be capable of withstanding catastrophic events. Huh. I guess it wasn't able to withstand a little bit of...
lightning?
Yeah, or whatever, yeah. Well, maybe it was lightning. Maybe that was the name of the explosive, the lightning brand explosive. The man reportedly used a pseudonym as reference to his Christian religion. Actually, yeah, we'll leave that there because it might actually not be as far-fetched as they say. Said he wanted a granite monument that could be built to rival the British Neolithic monument Stonehenge, which he drew inspiration for after visiting them. However, he noted that while impressive, Stonehenge had no message to communicate. Some would disagree with that, but we'll leave it there. All right, so the guy who built it believed Christian was a nut and attempted to discourage him by by providing a crazy price quote that was way beyond what you'd expect, and was several times what the project any other company would make. So basically, they overcharged to try to turn him down. But this guy accepted the quote, I guess without argument, accordingly. And he said he represented a group which had been planning the Guidestones for 20 years and wanted to remain anonymous. All right, so that would put this in the 50s when this was started to be planned. So whatever group it was formed, if we're to believe any of this, would have been in the 50s. Now, I think that's a load of bullshit, but that's not, I wasn't there. So they were built, and I guess they were finally finished on March 22nd, 1980. And it was unveiled by a congressman, Doug Bernard, and there was about 200 or 300 people, and it ended up becoming property of the county. Okay, now there's a couple of deals here. First and foremost, anybody, I'm off the chat, so let me bump to the chat again. Does anybody know what this RC Christian is interesting for? Why is that interesting? There's a couple of interesting things revolving around it, actually. And I wish in some ways Fleshy was here because he's better with the cryptography stuff. But RC Christian, many people believe, is a hint that it was put together by a Rosicrucian.
The Rosicrucians.
That it could be the Rosicrucians. Now, here's the deal.
The thing, real quick, from what I understand of the Rosicrucians, there is a sect that is into the occult and Hermeticism.
Wait, say that again? I was reading
something.
There
is a sect of the Rosicrucians that is into Hermeticism and the Christian occult.
Sure.
And
so Rosicrucianism, I'm a little rusty on, but I did investigate them for a little bit. I was interested in trying to meet, get to know them or whatever, finding out if there's still anything. I've heard that they're basically just a shadow of whatever they used to be. Same thing with the Masons and all that. They're basically...
That's what I was trying to get to. Yeah, I was kind of got lost in thought for a second there. It was one of the sects is about the Christian Masons and everything.
Yeah, I mean, Rosicrucianism is it's an interesting it's got Christian stuff, it's got occult stuff. It's definitely an interesting, you can go to the Rosicrucian website right now and see all the kinds they have a lot of their documentation up. You can read it, and by the way, it's not bad. If you read it, it's got emanationism in it. It's got a lot of, new agey stuff in there. It's got a lot of non-dual or monist stuff going on there if you really know how to read it. It's not a bad, occult outlook at all, really. Some people are like, oh my God, you're one of them. Just relax. Now, as cults go, a lot of these things, a lot of these cults have lost their teeth. A lot of them are now, they're just kind of like, they're like vetting rooms to get people, for higher service, I guess you could say, potentially. But I don't even know if that's 100% true. The mystery schools of old have devolved into, whatever they used to believe and whatever mystical and spiritual things they believed, over time has been mostly corrupted. And this is something Styx Hexenhammer said today or yesterday. And I agree with him completely. This has been my observation as well. Not that I'm involved in any of them to know, but as an outsider looking in. And when I look at the world and I see these things, whatever spirituality was valid for them at one point has been corrupted and has become atheistic, has become secular. It's become a gentleman's club for a lot of them. Okay? Does that mean that they don't believe in some shit? I think some of them do. I think some of them are absolutely occultists. I think some of them absolutely practice magic and all this kind of stuff. Absolutely, without any question in my mind. One could even say, if my experiences are true, then I've encountered them in sort of astrally kind of, weird trancey situations. Maybe. right? That's if I'm being very generous and playing the game that everybody else plays with the superstitious stuff. So it doesn't mean I learned anything from it, doesn't mean I talk to them, but you know, you can feel like, wait a minute, what is that? I feel like there's something here. So there's definitely practitioners. Okay, I have no question about that whatsoever. You can't not see the symbolism. If you study even a little inkling of this, all the conspiracy theorist people who are like, oh, did you see the halftime show at the Super Bowl had all the occult symbolism? Well, yes, it did. Yes, it absolutely did. Was it actually a ritual like the Christian conservatives say? And no more so than your own, you know, Sunday stuff is. Was it actually a ritual? It's a tough sell for me. But was it replete with symbolism? Absolutely. There's symbolism everywhere. Look at your money, for fuck's sake. Your money's full of fucking occult symbolism. Why is that on our money at all? Like that's a valid question. Why is our money loaded with occult symbolism? It is. Anyone who says it's not, it is. Trust me. Now, is that witchcraft and devil worship? No, that's what Christian people think, because to them everything's the devil.
Everything is.
Anything, you know, Christianity's got people. Christianity's this obnoxious, you know,
if they don't understand it.
Christianity is an obnoxious leftover from a prior age of propaganda. Think of it like this. Once upon a time, the Christian world that we know, and I noticed the chat stopped. I don't know if people are just like really enthralled or if they're just like whatever.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Yeah, the chat stopped. Hopefully everybody's still there. Once upon a time, we'll say from the year 0 on our calendar to around the year 300 or so, there wasn't Christianity as a, you know, an orthodox thing that everybody understood. There was Christianity as a bunch of disparate cults, each of them with their own beliefs, and there is absolutely no evidence that there is one true Christianity, right? That there's like a line of Christians that go from a Jesus character to become the church eventually. What you have is a bunch of different cults that all claimed to be somehow related to this Jesus event character. Whether it was an individual or a story the Romans made up or a cast of people that were called the same person, a made up thing, doesn't matter. We're just gonna go from what we know here. So you had a collection of people. You had the Gnostics, you know, you had all these different groups of people who had different takes on Christianity, and some of them, by the way, would be very, very indistinguishable from what, I shouldn't say indistinguishable, but would be very resonant with certain Luciferian and even satanic outlooks. Certain ones, okay? Not like, you know, LaVey Satanism, but certain Satan. So what do I mean by that? Like the Gnostics, for example, there were cults of Gnosticism that essentially said Lucifer was the good guy. Okay, Lucifer being the fallen angel, wasn't really a fallen angel, it was an angel sent by the monad to liberate the sparks of the divine from the clutches of the demiurge. And so it was not the evil one who tempted Adam and Eve with the apple. It was actually the morning star, okay, Lucifer. And that became, Lucifer was the spiritual form of Jesus. Jesus was the incarnation of Lucifer. That was the Gnostic, that was one Gnostic interpretation. Over the centuries, once you've had Orthodox Christianity cemented, you know, with the, what was it, the, oh, fuck-a-doodle-doo, it's a famous thing, where they finally came up. Anyway, when Orthodox Christianity was finally really galvanized together as this Orthodox canonical thing, all of these other things were deemed heretical, and you could be burned at the stake eventually for them. And of course, the church says, we never burned anyone at the stakes. Yes, but you declared people excommunicado and heretical, and the state burned them for you. Okay, let's be clear. So a lot of people with alternative ideas got burned at the stake. And guess what? The story that you know that Christians incorporate as their mythology for Satan and Lucifer can really be found in two sources, because it's not found in the Bible. You can really find it in Paradise Lost and the Divine Comedy. If you read those two things, you pretty much have the entirety of the Christian mythology, barring what's in the Bible. If you go to the average believer, true believer of Christianity, and ask them what Lucifer is and who that is and what they do, they will regurgitate the Paradise Lost story and a little bit of Paradiso without even knowing it. Just regurgitate the plot line. There's nothing in the Bible about this. Okay, so what gives here? Interestingly enough, the Paradise Lost version of Christianity is, I'm not going to say like a word for word retelling, but it is like a retelling of certain Gnostic positions. So what I'm telling you is that Christianity demonized Gnosticism, or at least different versions of Gnosticism, partially by way of taking what they said, turning that into the bad guy, so that it's a lie and that's Lucifer and Lucifer's the bad guy. In a very, if I was a Gnostic from that era and I was reborn today, I would see the Christian church as the demiurge won the war, because they basically became a religion of force, control, power, coercion, everything else that the demiurge stands for. Christ was subverted into this evil figure that basically leads people astray, because you've got to worship Christ instead of having Christ lead you to the Father, which meant realizing yourself as divine, by the way. That was the Gnostic version of this. All of that was destroyed. And what we're left with today, because the Christians so effectively over 1,000, 2,000 years rubbed out anything that was contrary, until they found the Nag Hammadi library, until they rubbed all that out, or I should say now that they've rubbed all that out, we don't realize that a lot of the stuff that they believe is propaganda from the Dark and Middle Ages. And that's why we get so turned off by it, because we can tell it's nuts. Okay, and in 100 years, people were going to look back on this time and look at what the media is spewing right now and go, that was nuts, and people believe that shit? Now, here's the thing. People want to get, like, really angry about some of this. Some people want to get like, oh, I hate all Christians. I'm seeing this right now, this outpouring of hate from people. And we'll get to that a little bit more in a minute, but this outpouring of hate is really bad. This is something that's not, this is like a counter-strike against the awakening.
It doesn't help any situation. Right.
Hate is the antithesis of, now I'm not saying that hate is bad. Okay. Hate is actually a very healthy emotion, but hate has to be in its proper place.
Has to be founded.
Well, it's got to be in its proper place. It can't be allowed to just run rampant, because if hate runs rampant, it makes stupid things happen. So people that would have been reasonable like a year ago are sitting here looking at things going on that are being done by conservatives and going, oh, hell no. And now they're turning off a little bit towards what they might have been okay with before. But I'm kind of digressing. Ellie Alchemist with the big old 999, reverse that sucker and you get a 666. But 999 is like the most perfect number. It's the 369. Very good. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, Al. Appreciate that a lot. So anyway, guys, I'm not really saying like you got to all be chatting. I was just saying like usually there's people chatting away down here. So don't worry, you don't have to chat. I just appreciate it if you do. So
hit that like button too.
Yeah, hit that like button. Yeah, for sure. Now, there are actually very tolerable Christians out there who actually know. You have some of them unfortunately go way too far into like the woke shit. But you have universalists who believe everybody eventually reaches salvation. You don't have to judge people, and they're open to multiple belief systems and all this kind of stuff. And they got the coexist stickers on their bumper, and all this stuff. They're not all evil, bad motherfuckers. Christianity, it is not a monolith as much as it wants you to believe it is. It is not a monolith. I've run into some very qualified Christian occultists who agree with a lot of you guys in your various criticisms of Christianity. They do exist. They're rare, but they do exist. So hate is dumb. Religion is even dumber though, because religion leads to hate. We know this. We see this every organized religion has a little too much hate in it. I got to tell you, and even the ones that don't do. Like but religion. Unfortunately, what religion is, it's basically a corruption of wisdom into a mind virus of control in virtually every case. Does that mean that there is nothing in the religions that is worth your attention? No. I think you should study religions. I think it's very helpful to study religions because especially when you study the history of it as well. So. Okay. So back to these guidestones. All right. So these guidestones, supposedly, purportedly, R.C. Christian was a Rosicrucian. Was he? Did he exist? I don't know. Wasn't there. You got to admit, R.C. Christian, R.C. Rosencreutz, it's kind of like, it makes some sense, okay? It definitely sounds legit as a theory goes. Were the Rosicrucians, let's play with that for a minute. The Christians are going to say they're satanic because they're Rosicrucians. No, that is not the case at all. Okay, remember, Protestant and Orthodox Christians, fucking Barbie's satanic to them. Especially like the real fundies. I've known deep ass fundies. I remember when I was a kid, I was like 13 years old, or no, I think I was like 9 years old. And my dad was dating this Protestant lady that he met at this church. And it's this, oh my goodness, is it one hell of those like holy roller, Protestant fucking born again.
Is that the mega church?
Yeah, the mega church down the road. Yeah, we've driven past it.
Yeah.
That big ass mega church, and now it's like even bigger. Like it was big when I was a kid. Now it looks like it's like a city building.
I always think of that King of the Hill episode when we drive past it.
Why?
Because they end up going to a mega church.
Oh, well, it's funny because it used to look big to me, their church. And now next to it is their new church that dwarfs it. Like it's ridiculous. Just this big brick, just giant building.
It's ugly too.
So he met this woman there, and she was this type of person who was just always really unhappy looking. She just always unhappy. He'd leave me with her like once in a while. He had to like leave us there for a little while, and we'd be babysat by people. And we were there one night, and she was so hardcore fundamentalist type. They didn't even let her watch. She didn't let the kids watch TV. Now, on the one hand, I get it. Like, don't let your kids watch too much TV, right? It's not a good idea. But we'd be watching this, and fucking Punky Brewster comes on, a commercial for Punky Brewster, and it's an episode about like there's like a scene where like she meets a ghost. And this is some 80s level shit, okay? And she goes, "We can't watch it." Turns it off, hysterically upset. That's the devil's work or some shit like that. Kind of like Bobby Boucher's mother, like that's the devil, okay? The devil. Just instantly like freak the fuck out. That's satanic. That's the devil. We can't watch that. It's not okay. I hated that lady. Just like that put a bad taste in my mouth. Yeah. So there's people who literally, if it's not found in their little Christian Bible, or ironically, not in the Bible, but in the Paradise Lost shit and all that stuff, it's immediately evil. Okay, it's immediately satanic and must be destroyed, and you can't have anything to do with it. So that's pretty sad, right? That's pretty fucking sad. The thing that's difficult is that there is connection between, we'll call them the bad guys, the New World Order globalists. There is connection between these various cults and them. You have to look no further than the Skull and Bones Society, which does... The Skull and Bones Society has this twisted-ass ritual they do to new members, okay? And the way it's described is quite literally what I would expect to see in some sort of Eleusinian mystery school. But it's been dumbed down as a frat prank. So it goes from this deep-ass ritual, dramatic performance with a little bit of psychedelics, where you die and are reborn, to this thing where they put you in a coffin with Geronimo's bones or whatever, and they get you drunk as shit, and they maybe drug you up, and you got to do whatever, some heinous shit probably, so that they have something to record and blackmail you with, and you end up being in Skull and Bones. Okay, there's a lot of these things, and you're not limited to just Skull and Bones. Okay, and this. Just like in antiquity, the mystery schools were always where the leaders of society went, and where they were groomed, and where they came out of. If you look at history, the mystery schools were very central to the system of control of the ancient world. Which is why when the Christians took over the ancient worlds, one of the first things they did was to destroy the mystery schools, or turn them into Christian things. But more often than not, they destroyed them. The reason we don't have any record of the Eleusinian mysteries was because they kept it so secret, and when the Christians came along, they wiped it out. And so there really wasn't much left. But those mystery traditions continued in their own way. They were either rediscovered or they just continued in secret. And they've always been, the mystery schools have always been a part of the fabric of the elite ruling class of the world. This is not my opinion. This is a fact. This is not even just, you can debate it, but you're going to be wrong. Even if I can't prove it to you with facts, trust me, someone else can. I know this, and I know how I know this is because I have family who were some of the richest people on the planet in the 20s. I hear things as a kid. People say, yeah, he was in the Masons. Yeah, he was a 33rd. Oh, yeah, he did. You hear stories. How did my grandma know some of this stuff was coming? My grandma knew just, someday they're going to do all this. Not specific. Nothing specific like, oh, they're going to microchip you or have this. Just, there's times coming. How did they know? Of course they know. Some of this stuff has been sort of in the works for a long time. The specifics evolved, right? They didn't know they were going to use algorithms on computers 70 years ago, 80 years ago, 100 years ago. Or maybe they did, but they didn't really. They didn't know what form it was going to take. They just knew what they wanted to do. So their plan evolves over time. Ours doesn't because we don't know what they're doing. It's the meaning of the statement, they live while we sleep. They do what they do while we're just in la la land. And the vast majority of human beings will never know. The Great Awakening isn't going to happen to everybody. But the vast majority of human beings are never going to know what's really going on. Because they're just not meant to. Now, the mystery schools, they don't always agree. You can have mystery schools that go against each other. You can have mystery schools with one set of ideals and one with another set of ideals. One could argue that the Enlightenment era, some people like to demonize the Illuminati. Some people like to say they were the good guys. I don't know. I wasn't there. But some part of me feels like they might have been the good guys. Maybe. My mind is open to that possibility. They decided that, you know what? Keeping humanity on a tight leash is actually the least efficient way to get what we want. What if we let people have the equivalent of what today would be called, free-range chickens? Let's give humanity the chance to be free-range. We'll give them just a really big pen, so that they don't realize they're still slaves paying taxes and doing what we want. We'll just give them a really big open space where they still have to do what we want, but they get to do it, we'll still guide them, of course, and we'll still extract. So you had the Enlightenment era. Very Luciferian, by the way, in every possible sense. This is one of the reasons why people will be like, they don't understand. They're like, Thorne, you say, yeah, good guys in quotes. Exactly, Andrew. Good guys, okay? Remember what we said before at the beginning of the show. Good guys. A lot of people don't understand because they're like, oh, Thorne, if you're Luciferian, be it philosophy or theism, whatever the fuck, how can you be all buddy-buddy with Christians? Because, again, the kind of Luciferian I am would be closer to a Gnostic sense. I'm not a Gnostic, but it would be closer to that. It would also be closer to the Enlightenment era Luciferian, which would have been, if you notice, the founding fathers, a lot of them weren't specifically Christian. They were deists. You look up, there is a difference. There is a difference between deists and Christians. And Christians today want to say, oh, they were Christian. No, they were not. In fact, some of them were, you'd call them witches, Christian people. Benjamin Franklin practiced occult magic, okay? Look it up. He was an occultist. People say, well, he didn't practice. He was just a bookworm. Okay, sure, I bet. I'm sure he was just a bookworm. I'm sure he didn't know anything. I'm so sure. The guy who fucking invents half the shit and is like, important enough to go visit the king of England at the time. Yeah, I'm sure. So there's a lot going on here that none of us know and that I can only speculate and see from a distance. But it is possible to say the Rosicrucians weren't necessarily the Satanists, all these different, look, calling something satanic is a Christian's way of saying we have to destroy it. And this is why I am, like, as much as I am currently saying I support all these people because the enemy of my enemy is my friend, there's a part of me going, we're going to have to fight them next. This never ends. If you want freedom, the fight never ends. If you're a Luciferian, you got to go where the wind's blowing, but you got to also realize that you may end up having to turn on the people that are on your side at some point. We'll see what happens. If they go all the way crazy, which they might, if the stuff that we sort of speculate to be true, that we kind of know is true, but we can't prove yet, imagine if a lot of that gets proven. Imagine if we do find out there's a depopulation plan. Imagine if we do find out that they're fucking little kids, and even if there's no adrenochrome shit and all that, don't kill me, Susan Wojcicki, this is entertainment, remember. Even if we find out that all of that is true, do you think that they're going to back off and go, well, that wasn't satanic? Oh, hell no. They're going to go, see, it was satanic, and then it's going to go nuts. That's when you're going to hear me saying, okay, here's Satanic Panic 2.0. So I am girding myself for that. I am preparing myself for that inevitable step, because it's probably going to come to that. In order to beat these fuckers, they've got to be dehumanized in the mind's eye of the public. It can't just be they lied to you. Even the truth of that they have depopulation intentions isn't going to be enough, because as I can see on my own timeline in Facebook, a lot of people like the idea because they're nihilistic and they hate the world.
Humans are parasites.
Right. They think that the humans are parasites and everything else. Are there parasitic humans? You damn right there are.
Yeah, there are.
Is humanity a parasite? No. No, humanity by virtue is not. Humanity by virtue can be anything it wants to be. That's one of the hidden secrets in the Christian edition of spirituality that is true among any true religion, and that is humanity above all has one thing that is interesting. It can be whatever it wants to be. That's always been the message I've gotten. You can be whatever you want. I don't mean like in the sort of, coddling, be whatever you want to be when you say it to a kid. I mean, humanity has the capacity to do anything it puts its mind to. This is very important. It's also why they're so eager on trying to convince you to go along with them. Because if you don't, they're screwed. They know this because there's an embodiment of the divine in all of us. If the divine says, you know what, I don't want to go this way, then we're not going now. It's just that simple. So just because there's occultism in the founding doesn't mean it was evil. Doesn't mean that it was satanic. Occultism does not equal Satanism necessarily. In fact, Satan was never really in occultism, really, not really, until more recently. Were they working with demons? Yes, but the occultists back then knew the demons to be daemons, not demons, not necessarily. So a lot of this was, until you get to like the Dark Ages or some shit, or I mean the Middle Ages, a lot of that's code. A lot of this is code. A lot of those spirits were pagan spirits that occultists wanted to work with. And because of the way things were at the time, this is just my understanding, it's not perfect because I'm not an anthropologist, was the overbearing Christian church, especially during like the Inquisition era, you could still practice magic, by the way. You can look this up. Magic wasn't illegal. What was illegal was to work with the forces of Satan. Except as an exorcist. You could work with demons and evil spirits as an exorcist. It was frowned upon. It wasn't really good. You could still get in trouble. But if you were doing rituals using Solomonic magic, calling upon demons and burning things and threatening them and saying, do my bidding, well, you at least had an excuse. You could say, well, I'm one of the good guys. I'm putting those demons in their place, Your Honor. And you know, if you were rich enough, maybe you just have to give a few acres to the church and some good offerings, and they'd let you go. If you were a peasant, that'd be a different story. If you're a peasant, yeah, you're getting broken on the rack. Or if you're a minor noble, you're getting broken on the rack if you got something that they want and you don't give it up. Yeah, of course. A lot of these things are code, and it's a way for them to explore pagan gods and everything else. Lest we forget, even Christianity had some of the saints and some of the spirits on the good guy side were the gods and figures from old. If you look in the Divine Comedy, when you get to Purgatory, which wasn't that bad, by the way, Purgatory wasn't really that bad. If we ended up in Purgatory, oh well, you know, like you still have happy days down there. You see Plato and you see Aristotle, I guess. I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly. You see a lot of figures who they weren't believers in Christ, so they don't go to heaven, but they're not condemned to actual hell. They're on the upper layers. They're in a redeemable place, shall we say. And as you go towards heaven, you'll actually encounter certain angelic saints and stuff, were the gods of old or the heroes of old or whatever. You'll encounter them according to Christianity at the time, because they couldn't just demonize everything like they do in Protestantism. Protestantism says everything's demonic, and I shouldn't say that because Protestantism is a monolith either. I know a lot of Protestant people who are very ready and happy to accept that there's other religions that are not evil, that the gods that they worshipped were angels in disguise or God in another form, or, you know, whatever. They're very apologetic, shall we say, like C.S. Lewis. They're apologists. They give space for that. So there is that. Anyway, back to the Guidestones. So these Guidestones are built in the 80s, supposedly by a group who are predicting an apocalyptic event. Maybe it's the Cold War spurs them on. That's the theory, because if you look, there's actually more than the inscriptions on the stones. You have the inscriptions on the, there's like a stone that describes, you know, yeah, an explanatory tablet. Okay, and it says, let me see if I can find it. According to the story, of course, you know, the story was it was meant to be there for like the post-apocalyptic age. If mankind destroys itself, these would be here for the future survivors or maybe other creatures to use. And that's the story. And it says, let these be Guidestones to an age of reason. Okay. Now, this is meant according to their version, I mean, the creator's version. You know, let me backtrack a little bit. I'm seeing a lot of people both in this chat and on Facebook and elsewhere saying, oh, the Christians got it wrong as usual. These are a good thing. I'm actually going to pick a bone with those people in a minute. But I want to point out that there's a illness in human psychology where people will, if you tell them what they want to hear, they'll overlook a lot of shit. When 9/11 happened, the powers that be already had a plan set up and ready to go to take over human rights, to basically eradicate, you know, privacy and everything else. And nobody would go for this if they said, we're going to take your freedom away. We're going to get rid of your right to privacy. We're going to put up a no-fly list. We're going to feel your kids up at the airport to make sure they don't have bombs on them. We're going to do all this stuff. Nobody would go along with this unless you said first, yes, this is the Patriot Act. You're a patriot if you go for this. So in other words, people are low info. If you tell somebody as a politician, I see this all the time. Politicians get up on a stage and say, we're gonna have justice and freedom and diversity. Okay, these are great little buzzwords. These are great buzzwords. Can we get the actual plan though? Can we get the actual explanation of what you're planning? Or what does that mean in practice? What does that actually look like? So if I say to you, vote for me and I will feed the world, you're like, oh, that sounds great. Thorne sounds like the guy. Yeah, but my plan to feed the world is to use the government to seize all of food production, put it under the control of something that I, of course, have my fingers in and dip into my back pocket, that I have control over. So we're going to feed the world by taking control of the food supply so farmers have to do what I want. And now the world is under my thumb because I can turn that spigot off or on or regulate it in any way I want. So it sounds great. You're going to feed the world. Yeah, we're going to feed the world. How? What's your plan? A lot of people, because they're low info thinkers, they just read headlines. I'm not saying they're stupid. Well, they're kind of stupid, but they're not stupid in the way that like they have a low IQ.
More ignorant.
They're more, yeah, I guess a little ignorant. They ignore things. Being ignorant being willful decision to ignore details, perhaps. Or maybe they just, it's something that they want to hear. And so they go, oh, it's not what it sounds like. It's actually a good idea. All right. So let's go over these inscriptions. And people are going to say, I already know the argument.
Real quick.
They're not saying you have to depop. What's that, Kamila?
Real quick, you got a super chat?
I do.
Jay Sauber with a 499.
Oh, thank you, Jay. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for your email the other day, too. Got me to wax poetic on the future. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate you, brother. Jay's been a great supporter of this channel for a while, and a distant but good friend, we'll say, because he does email me. We do have little chats every now and then. So the first thing says, maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. Now, this is the sticking point. This is the one that everybody loses their shit over, which is kind of ironic because if you read down the list, you can have a sticking point with all of these if you understand what's going on. But let's focus on this one first. The apologists are going to say, well, there's nothing wrong with that because they're talking about in a future when humankind has wiped itself out in nuclear war. So they're telling a future human civilization, don't overpopulate. Fair, except what if this group that built this was planning on the apocalyptic event to happen? Not as an, uh-oh, it might happen, as in a, yeah, in about 2030, we're going to have the nuke war or whatever the hell it's going to be. This is the Hegelian dialectic. This is the Pied Piper of Hamelin. This is the create a problem and solve it scenario. It's something that they're really good at. Probably their best trick, actually. When you use it for good things, it's called skillful method. When you use it for evil, it's Hegelian dialectic. Problem, reaction, solution. A good teacher will present you with a problem, you'll react, and then present the solution as a lesson. An asshole will do this in a neurolinguistic way. They will put you in a position where you're in a crisis that they engineered, of course you don't know that, with the solution in mind, okay? So we don't know for a fact that these guys were planning on, like, I'm just giving you a possibility. I'm not saying that is what's happening here, except when we go down the list, it starts to sound like it. So they say, maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. It's no secret that in the 60s and 70s, the overpopulation issue started to become a mainstream fad in earth sciences, in people who study the planet. And at their estimations, we should already be dead, because if you go by the estimations when they started coming up with this shit, we had around 3 to 5 billion people, depending upon the time period in specific. When the stones were put in place, we had just under 5 billion people on the planet. When the idea that the planet had a carrying capacity first hit, it wasn't even 6 or 7 billion, okay? It was less than that. So that estimate's been changing a lot. It was sort of a fad at the time, and it was injected into mainstream science and into the culture. If you go back 70 years, the idea that humanity was overpopulating and a virus on the earth and should be wiped out, most people would have laughed in your face. They might have said, yeah, a lot of people suck, but you're talking crazy talk if you think humanity should be wiped out. That's insane. Well, that's normal now. If you go down the street and ask 10 people if they think that the Earth should be Thanos'd a little bit, a lot of people are going to say, fuck yeah. And not only fuck yeah, but they're going to say anybody with that bumper sticker should go first. Because everybody's gone crazy right now. Look at the shooting that just happened in Chicago. It's not Chicago, it's the suburb.
Highland.
Highland. Look at the shooting in Highland Park. The moment that happened, everybody on both sides, we'll say, quote unquote, sides of the current divide of the world, everybody was trying to lay the blame on the other side, saying, oh, look, he's a Trump supporter. Oh, look, he's Antifa. Oh, look, he's a transsexual. Oh, look, he's this. And it was driving me up a fucking wall. Anybody who follows me on Twitter will see I was making fun of it. Like, oh, do we know what ice cream flavor he likes so we can start demonizing people who like Rocky Road? Everybody was trying to pin this on the other side, saying, oh, it's obviously political.
Instead of just saying he was a sick fuck.
Now, was it political? Maybe, except I don't think so. He sounded like he was just an edgelord.
When you see the look in his eyes, he was sick. He
was sick. And there's people who will point out, rightfully, no MAGA person's going to shoot up a parade ever. No legitimate MAGA person's going to shoot up a 4th of July parade.
Especially for the 4th of fucking July.
Right. That's just ridiculous. So, you know, whatever. Does that mean it was definitely Antifa or something? No, I don't know. You know, there's pictures of him with a helmet. There's a picture of him making fun of everybody. If you look, there's pictures of him making fun of what looks like Antifa stuff, what looks like Trump stuff, what looks like other stuff. He's making fun of everybody. But everybody was really quick to try to blame it on the other side. So anyway, that's a little bit of a diversion. This whole maintain humanity under 500 million, this Thanos thing, if you walk down the street and ask the average person if they think we're overpopulated and we should do a Thanos, they're probably going to say yes by and large. At least half of them are going to say yes. And when they say yes, they're going to point to people that they don't like and say them first. No one's going to volunteer to be the first one on the slab. I had this conversation on my Facebook. I said nicely to this person, because they're a very intelligent, kind person. I said, who among you is going to be the first one to offer yourself up as tribute? Who among you is going to put your heart on the slab, like in the Aztec kingdom? How many of you, you know how many people were killed in a few days in the by the Aztecs when the sun went away? Over like, I think it was 3 days, something like 68,000 people. Some insane number. I forget exactly. I saw it the other day. I have to double check. Maybe somebody who knows things better than me can look. Who among you is going to be the first one to lay on the altar and have your heart cut out?
Or to put your kids up there.
Right. How many are you going to do that? None of you. So don't tell me about how you're all like, oh, the world should be depopulated because humans suck. No, you just don't like people. The humans don't. I mean, and this is coming from someone who is fed up with society. Trust me. I look at the world and go, damn. Sometimes I think Thanos was right. But then I catch myself and I go, that's a perception that's being beamed into my head by the media, by social media, by people, by the... Meanwhile, if I walk around, I look at people and I go, they seem like a nice person. So why do I feel like the whole world's got to go?
Those algorithms.
Yeah, it's them algorithms. All right. So that's the big sticking point. For most people who look at these, they go, well, that proves that it's the New World Order, because only the New World Order would say that. Okay. Next, guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. What's my problem with that? That sounds reasonable. Don't you want to guide reproduction wisely? Aren't we having a huge fight right now about reproductive rights?
Sterilization and eugenics.
Are we or are we not talking about... Look, I am moderately pro-choice. That doesn't mean that I think abortion should be till the final trimester and all this other shit. There's a fucking limit to this. I'm sorry, but there is. But I am moderately pro-choice. So I don't love what... I shouldn't say I don't love. I actually understand why they did it. Roe v. Wade didn't solve the problem. It was a Band-Aid and it was bad law. They should have codified it 50 years ago.
What was that analogy I used? What was it?
Oh, our toilet that's broken.
We have a toilet, right? Everybody does. The valve is leaking onto the floor. So instead of repairing it, we turn the valve off.
Yeah, because we're lazy and broke, so we don't repair it. We just turn it off. When we have to take a piss, we turn it back on. Does it leak?
Let it go. Turn it right back off.
Right. So that's what Roe was. It was
on a problem.
They turned a valve off. Okay, they didn't fix the problem, they just kicked the can down the road. Unfortunately, that means that the crisis has to happen now instead of 50 years ago when we were in a better place for it. What should happen is the general consensus of American people is something moderately pro-choice. I'm sorry, conservatives who follow me, it's moderately pro-choice. It just is. Is it majorly pro-choice? No. It's moderately pro-choice. It's 12 weeks, 15 weeks, with reasonable exceptions for health and shit like that. Rape, no one should be forced to carry if it's a, rape or something. Of course not. That's the moderate view. And it's pretty much a consensus around the world. All these other countries that have it, they had it with with more restrictions than we did. We were one of the few countries that had it with like virtually no restriction, comparatively. Anyway. Guide reproduction wisely. Improving fitness and diversity. That is literally fucking eugenics. People are gonna say, well, I don't mind that. If you have something to say about it, you don't mind it. The minute it's done to you without your permission, you get mad. You can't tell me I can't have an abortion. Are you sure? You just said you're fine with people guiding your reproduction.
And let's also put it this way. If you have a known disease that could pass on to future children, okay, one that is potentially life-threatening, you will not be able to have children.
Yeah.
They will look at your DNA, and they will not let you have children if that's the case.
Yeah.
Pro-choice, right?
Pro-choice. This is why I say, like, everybody's pro-eugenics until they're not the ones making the rules. And case in point, you guys need to look up, I always forget her name, Shannon or Sharon Swan. Dr. Swan. Look up Dr. Swan's research on human fertility, especially in the West, and your mind will shut the fuck down when you realize just how much infertility is hitting the West. And it's not just because people are choosing not to have kids.
No.
It's just, they're doing studies with the fucking testosterone, with the sperm count, with all this shit. It's not just because people who are wealthy are saying, well, we don't need 20 kids. That is a factor, not the cause. It's just not the fucking cause. There's something in, I don't want to say too much because it's YouTube, but we'll say something in the orange juice and something in the water. Guaranteed that is affecting fertility. To me, this is non-negotiable. Do you know why? Because it just started coming out in the major scientific journals. It just started coming out in the news. They're admitting that something's going on with fertility, and it might have to do with pollutants in the water or something else. When they're starting to say that, that's 50 years down the road already. They've known about it for a long ass time. They're getting out ahead of something that's getting released. This is just like when they had lead in gasoline and they had this big hullabaloo. The guy who invented the fucking system, putting lead in gasoline, knew it was bad. At least he figured it out after a while. And he sat on it. They made the money, blah, 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 blah. Eventually it was figured out and they had to get rid of it. By then it was too late. My generation and everybody before had brain damage from it. As a joke, I have an IQ. I know when people say, if you say your IQ a lot, you're not smart. I have a pretty fucking high IQ. I can only imagine what it would be if I didn't have lead in the gasoline back in the 80s, in the 70s. I'd probably be sitting there and I'd be doing like quantum physics or some shit.
Or the paint.
Yeah. Yeah. The lead in the paint chips that I ate. I mean, yeah, well, anyway. All right. Unite humanity with a living new language. That sounds great. Yeah, let's make a living new language that we can all use. I'm down with that, except what does that mean, though? What does it mean to unite humanity with a living new language? That means to create and control a new language. It doesn't say free humanity. And I want to cut to the chase a little bit. Instead of just reading down this whole list, read this list and tell me where it says anywhere in there anything about actual freedom. Where in there does it say anything about actual freedom? The only line that says anything about freedom is number 8, balance personal rights with social duties. That doesn't say That doesn't say human rights are sacred.
Nope.
It just says, yeah, there might be some human rights, there might not be. Balance them with social duties. Well, anyway, let's go back to number 3. Unite humanity with a living new language. Let me ask you guys, what does the woke side do? Are they not trying to control language, telling you what you can and cannot say, what words are offensive and what words are not? Telling you that you have to say certain words to people, otherwise you're offending them and you're evil and you're a bigot? Telling people that you can't say that because it's not funny anymore? Basically, number 3. Number 4, rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things with tempered reason. Probably the only one that doesn't really have an obvious negative connotation, because everything should be ruled by tempered reason. Obviously. That's true. Passion, faith, and tradition should not rule the world. The thing is, though, and here's the thing. Remember what I said before about I'm going to feed the world? How are you going to do that, Thorne? I'm going to take over the whole fucking show? Rule, passion, faith, and tradition, and all things with tempered reason. Secularism. Basically outlawing any kind of religion that interferes with the state. Hello? Am I just reading into this? Are you sure? Some people are going to say, oh, Thorne, you're just reading into it because you don't like it. Look around the world and tell me that half of these haven't come true in some form already. Number 5, protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts. Okay. Once again, this goes back to the feed the world scenario. Sounds great. What does that actually mean, though? Protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts. What does that mean? Dude, that's just lip service. It doesn't mean anything. That's saying, be nice to each other. Okay, but what does that mean, though? If you go back 200 years, 300 years, being nice to somebody could mean something totally different than it does today. If you go to, you could get mad and say like, oh, they're backwards people and whatever. You can go to the Middle East and, you could see that they have these strange things under Sharia law and they got to stone their sister if they're seen with a man. All that. To them, that's wholesome and good. We were just watching. What were you watching today, Kamila? That thing where they were showing that Palestinian children's show?
Oh, yeah. It was on another YouTube channel. It was a little documentary about a Hamas
kids show.
Kids show. It was essentially indoctrination.
Yeah.
And it was all about, had a little girl on there who was the host. I think she was about 12 years old, and a really off-brand Mickey Mouse was with her, trying to brainwash the kids. Well, Disney sued, and they ended up killing this this character during the show.
They stabbed him or whatever.
During
right?
the show, actually killed him. They didn't
kill the actor.
The actor, but the character.
They killed the character.
They killed the character and replaced him with someone else who was not an off-brand. And it was all about Hamas and yeah.
Well, to them, that was fair, just, and noble, and humane, and everything else to those people.
Because what happened to them? It's all about Palestine and what happened to them, how they see things.
Number 7, avoid petty laws and useless officials. Okay, that might be the first one where I'd have a hard time twisting that into negative. We'll leave number 7 there and say, we'll circle that one and say, maybe. Okay. Avoid petty laws and useless officials. Unless that means tyrannical dictatorships where there is no petty laws, they just tell you. There's no law to fall back on. It's just what we say. I'm reading into that one. I'm gonna say I'm reading into that one. That one's fair if you want to call me out on that one. I think that's fair. Number 7, I'm reading out a little bit. I'm reading into a little bit. Number 8, balance personal rights with social duties. We covered that already. That does not imply actual liberation and human freedom. What that implies is humans have a few rights probably, and they got to be balanced with social duties. It doesn't say protect human freedom. On the scale of human rights and social duties, okay, freedom is weighted more. What that means is that for every social duty you have, you should have a couple of bricks of freedom. It shouldn't be where for every freedom you have a duty. I know that sounds great if you have a collectivist mentality, but unfortunately that means at some point you have to coerce and control people. No one in their right mind would say zero social duties, by the way. I don't advocate for that. My ideal form of life, of government, is something that's considered minarchist. I don't want a big government, but I do feel a sense of duty to my society. Otherwise, I wouldn't be speaking out. You know, it's not like I couldn't go the other way. It's not like I couldn't go find, you know, some way to work for the other side and become rich. It isn't like it's impossible. You know how much further ahead I'd be in life if I just said, fuck it, I'm going to align with these people and go to their schools and indoctrinate myself and believe what they, and say I believe what they say, and rise to the corporate ranks and become rich and powerful. You think I couldn't do that? No, I got a screw loose. I want to be free. Fuck me, huh? Okay. Number 9, prize truth, beauty, love, seeking harmony with the infinite. That one I'll put a circle around. I can't argue with that one. Prize truth, beauty, love, and seeking harmony with the infinite. Yeah, that one sounds okay. Number 10, be not a cancer on the earth. Leave room for nature, leave room for nature. We'll circle that one and say we'll leave that one alone too. I don't have a problem with that. Except you can take that too far. Again, we're sitting here saying prize truth, beauty, love, seeking harmony with all the infinite. We can do the whole I'm going to feed the world thing with that too. Well, what does that exactly mean, oh dictator of the future? You mean the king's truth? You mean the king's beauty and the king's love? That's what we're protecting? That's reading into it, I think. Personally, I would say that's reading into it, but that's what I'm saying. Circle 7, 9, and 10 as maybe not that bad. 8, I don't trust. 6, don't trust. 5, don't trust. Well, 6 actually, again, let all nations rule internally, resolving external disputes in a world court. Okay. Sounds okay. We'll put a circle around 6. So we're going to say about half of them are questionable. Am I reading into it? That's up to you guys. If you guys are watching this saying, Thorne, you sound like you're, you know, it sounds like you're reading into it, go ahead and tell me that. But I don't think so. I really don't think so. Because all of this sounds like what a used car salesman's going to tell somebody when they're getting ready to rip them off. This sounds like a game plan for controlling the planet of the future. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Because anybody who knows that the depopulation is part of their plan, and it will be apocalyptic on some level. Someone says, well, this isn't saying that we have to depopulate. They're saying what they're going to do after they depopulate, guys. Do you get it or not? The way that this is read by people who see this as a threat, and I'm not saying that they're 100% right. I am open to the possibility that I'm completely wrong and that this was good faith and they meant it in good faith, and that's that. I'm 100% open to that. I don't think so, but I am open to it. In my opinion, this is after we get this whole shebang the way we want it, this is what we're going to rule with. Because you have to realize one thing about these fuckers. I happen to believe that behind them, so we only see a couple layers down from the absolute pinnacle of the people running this. People go, well, Thorne, it's Soros and Bill Gates and blah, blah. No, it's not.
No, there's people above that.
There's people that are way higher than them. Bill Gates is not the one who's doing it.
If you know their name, it's not them.
Right. If you know their name, it's not them. It just isn't.
I mean, think of it this way. You have the military and you have like things that are very super high tech, you know. That's just the tip of the iceberg. They only tell you certain things.
Exactly. You think they're going to let you know who's... I've said this in a prior stream. The richest, most powerful people on the planet, their assets are not listed. They own people who have assets.
Yep.
You don't need, like, we're so stupid on average as people in the common, the common people. We think that a rich and powerful person has a huge bank account and has a lot of rank in government or something. You're a fucking fool. I mean that with no respect. I'm kidding. I get animated. You're a fool if you think that. If you think that somebody with a huge bank account is the rich, like Elon Musk, you think he's the richest man on earth? I got news for you. No, he's not. He's the richest person on earth that is openly rich. Even he said it. He accused Putin of being the richest man on earth because he said Putin owns a lot of people. He disperses his money into people that he owns. Could it be true? Probably. Is he literally the richest man on earth? Tough to say. Maybe. Does that mean he's behind all this? I know that the leftists and the media would love me to say that. I don't know. I don't think so. That's right, Jafar. Exactly. The military stuff they had 40 years ago is what they're releasing to the public now. Mm-hmm. They probably have moon bases, you fools. They probably do. They probably have Mars bases by now. Don't even joke, dude. They probably do. They probably have shit that if you saw, like if you could see with the eyes of God and see what's really going on right now in the world, you'd probably shit a brick the size of my house and die. Because it would be like, there's no fucking, you wouldn't believe what your own eyes would be telling. I'm telling you, that's how it's always been. Look at the stuff they develop in secret, then release like 50 years later. Well, you telling me that science has stagnated for 50 years? We don't have anything better than what we released 50 years? Come on.
Well, I'm going to say this, okay? I'll give an example. Our son is going to be a chef on the essentially crown jewel of the Navy fleet.
Yeah, don't say too much specific.
The crown jewel of the Navy fleet, okay? It's out there. Everybody knows about this ship. Everybody worldwide. It's all eyes are going to be on it. But guess what? There's got to be something else.
Oh yeah.
It's not really the crown jewel.
Well, you release a crown jewel so it becomes a target and you get your actual stuff elsewhere. It's
exactly.
Just it's a typical feint, you know. So the people controlling this are people that I often refer to as the hidden masters. This almost goes back to Madame Blavatsky and her idea of the ascended masters. It's a similar idea. There are people creeping around on this planet. They might live in a very, very humble-looking home at the end of a cul-de-sac. They might drive, I mean, yeah, maybe they have a BMW. That person might be the most powerful person on the planet. I know that sounds insane. Because you've been raised to believe that rich and powerful people have solid gold houses and they fly around in jets and all that. If you guys ever saw the latest John Wick, where he goes and he meets the head of the Assassin's Guild or whatever, I forget what they call it. I'm thinking like fucking Assassin's Creed, but whatever. He goes and meets this dude in the middle of the desert in a very fancy but very hidden kind of nice little tent in the desert. Somebody like that is what I'm picturing. Somebody who is just nobody knows they exist.
That's very often how it is.
Yep.
I mean, even just people in our area that have a lot of money, where they come to our job site in.
Yep.
A little Honda Civic that's broken down looking.
Yep. So the idea that the most rich and powerful people on the planet are going to be obvious is a bold-faced no-no. Because they learned with the Enlightenment era that they have to go underground. The people who rule, who truly rule, they saw their peers get beheaded. And they said, nope. They noped the fuck out. And they disappeared. Crackbite, are you one of the hidden masters? He says, a hidden master can be anyone, maybe with weird hobbies like watching streams like this. Maybe. Maybe they're sitting there going, yeah, don't pick him up yet. He's still against us. We gotta hurt him enough so he wants to join us. So, my ultimate take on these things is, I honestly don't know. My gut, which happens to be right a lot, not in specific, but in general. My gut, which is usually right in general, but not often in specific, tells me that this is not to be trusted. This is not a good thing. A lot of people are nihilistic, and because Christians are mad at it, and they're mad at Christians, they like it now. I'm telling you, I see it on Facebook all the time. I see people saying, oh, the Christians are happy that they brought down the Guidestones. What idiots. Look, it says all these good things. They don't know what the fuck they're saying. They just hate Christianity. Christians like to breathe air. Does that mean we have to hate air? It's just petty tribal bullshit. And there's a lot of dummies out there like that. They're everywhere. There's things I agree with the other side about. You know, like there was leftists in our group for a little while, and they were friends with us, and we were friendly with them, and it turned ugly, like it often does. I'm an ideologue, they're an ideologue, and we just didn't mix. And I'm not even, you know, I'm not even opposed to every single thing that they think. So long as it's voluntary, that's fine. If you look at this list, that's not a voluntary list, is it? Nowhere on there does it say voluntary. Nowhere on there does it say humans should be free. It says you have rights. Having rights doesn't mean you're free. Your dog has rights, guys. Your dog has rights. Animal rights are a thing. Are they fucking free? No, they're not. Don't confuse rights with just being free. It doesn't mean the same thing. Rights are a part of freedom, but freedom is bigger than just rights. Remember, Luciferian type here. Freedom is one of my favorite things. Freedom doesn't necessarily mean you just do whatever the fuck you want. I mean spiritual freedom, true intellectual freedom, true freedom. It doesn't mean that there can't be laws. Doesn't mean you can't have a society. Am I going to do a society speech now? It doesn't mean you can't have a civilization. It just means that freedom is, it's got to be the seed. It's got to be the spotlight that guides things. It's got to be the beacon. It's got to be the sacred thing. It's got to be the thing that the laws are built around. You build the laws of a society around the idea of freedom, you got a good society that will reach the goddamn stars someday, I promise you. Now, will the other side reach the stars? Probably. But what gets there is not going to be pretty. I refuse to breathe the Christian demiurgic air. I shall turn purple as I suffocate. Damn right. Blade and Cloak, I don't care if they love me or not. Why do you care if they love you? Tell a Christian you practice witchcraft. See how much they love you for that. Good, fuck them. They're supposed to turn the other cheek. I'm good at turning cheeks. Good, fuck them. That's not the same thing as me saying they have to be destroyed with the rest of them. I'm not that guy. That's a stupid tribalistic attitude, and it will destroy you in the end. If people are willing to leave me alone, I leave them alone. Period. You know, if they don't leave me alone, well, then we're going to have a problem.
It's kind of like that whole thing where if you see something on social media that you don't like and it really offends you, just keep scrolling.
Blade and Cloak,
it's a very
I disagree completely. Some would burn us if they could, and you'd burn them if you could too. Neither of you are better. I think it's childish as fuck. I know a lot of Christians that would leave us alone. A lot of them would leave us alone. Because they do. A lot of them just think we're stupid. We don't have to be at war. This whole my sky daddy's got to kill your sky daddy thing is so fucking 2,000 years ago. We can do a lot better than that. If we're better than them, then it shouldn't be that way. Yeah, there's a lot of jihadis that would love to kill you too. There's a lot of other occultists that would like to kill you too. Do you not know that? You think all occultists are part of some big wheelhouse where they love each other? That's not been my experience at all. People are taught to hate one another. And I still agree with LaVey on the subject of hate, that hate is a healthy emotion, that it shouldn't be repressed. We shouldn't just go with being sweet to everybody. But hate needs to be in its proper place. Hate cannot control you. If your impulse is Christians must die because they're Christian, or they want to kill us, so we got to kill them, I think that you just had some bad... Look, I don't live in the Bible Belt also. I got to preface this. I don't live in the Bible Belt. I don't have that problem. I don't have like literal KKK people that are going to try to kill me because they hear I'm a Satanist. I don't have that problem. If I did, I'd maybe have a different opinion. I respect that part of the difference between us. Where I live, Christians leave me alone. I can walk around outside with satanic pentagrams and they'll pretty much leave me alone. Most of them are Ned Flanders, guys. Let's be honest. Everybody in the chat, be honest with me. Are most of the Christians you've ever met more or less Ned Flanders? Or just average people? How many of them are fucking burn the Satanists, kill the occultists, kill the witches? Unless you're like in that Bible Belt area, probably not many. If you're in the Bible Belt area, that's probably the exception, not the rule. They just judge you from afar. I know I get in trouble as somebody sitting here with what I got defending Christians. It makes me very unpopular. If I was here to be popular, I wouldn't be here. I have to tell you what I see. I see people who are divided by hate. I'm going to tell you that there are people watching me or that used to watch me who would have agreed with me about everything that I've ever said about the New World Order being bad and about all this other shit until the Christians started turning against them too. And now they suddenly love the New World Order. Yeah, fuck them Christians. Good. Maybe we do need, the Great Reset. I'm not kidding. I've seen it. I've seen people turn like that. I've had death threats from those people. Oh, you like Christians now. You're a fake LARPing Satanist. I never said I was a goddamn Satanist, you fool. Never said that. I get this shit all the time. I'm not scared of it. And will I sometimes shrink away from it when it gets overwhelming? Of course. But I'm not scared of it. I can't walk around the way I am with fear in my heart. You think I can walk down the street being the guy that I am and be scared? Blade says, let's all become cross-wearing sorcerer paladins. I mean, if I'm assuming you're I'm assuming you're joking and not being insulting, but I hope you realize I'm not saying that either. I'm saying don't be stupid. Don't be so twisted up with hate that you become the thing you hate. If you want to go out and do your inquisitions and your jihads against other people because you're scared of them, you're just telling me you're scared. That's all you're doing. You don't sound powerful, you sound weak. Show me your power and show me how you can transcend that shit. All the real occultists that I've run into who are really on a path of ascension, they're not worried about Christians. They're just not. If you can't go around Christians and be accepted by them, then you don't know how to hide yourself. You don't know how to glamour. You don't know what you're doing. I could walk into a church tomorrow and be accepted just fine. You know what the problem is, Blade and Cloak? You're not using some before you say Christians. You're saying all. And that's where I draw the line. People, if you've got bigotry in your heart towards Christians, that's on you, buddy. I'm not going to argue with you about the fact that there's bad Christians. Of course there are. not going to sit here and say to you like all Christians are good.
There's bad in everything. There's good in everything.
I don't even see good and evil. It's just people are people. They get tribal and stupid. Some Christians, look, Ned Flanders ain't going to kill you, buddy. You don't got to worry about Ned Flanders. You do got to worry about the psychos. And guess what? There's psychos on every religion. You tell me that there aren't, you know, Satanists that would be happy to just kill everybody? Maybe the ones you live by are different. You know, let's exchange the word Christian with some other group of people. See if you sound tolerant or good or anything. And you're going to say, "Well, I'm not good. I'm satanic." Well, that's fine. That's fine. At least admit that. Admit to the bigotry part. It's the only way you'll integrate the shadow and do something with it. Is it bad? Not going to judge you for it, but I can't help but see it. I don't mean that as an insult. I mean that with all due respect. It's like you want me to hate Christians with you. I don't hate anybody with you. I don't hate leftists. I don't even hate people. I'm not going to say that I shouldn't say I don't hate. That's the wrong way to put it. I don't generalize the hate, I think is what I'm trying to say. I don't generalize the hate. My hatred is specific and targeted. I don't target a group of people and say you're all evil and need to die. If someone's saying that I've got to be disarmed, I go after them. Somebody says like, "Oh, we gotta do this to this person," I go after the specific. I don't like to go after a general group because it doesn't work. You just become the thing that you hate when you do that. You don't sleep well at night like that. Wyatt says something very wise there. He says, "It's unfortunate that we must create a tribe to protect ourselves from the tribes we were arisen in." That is unfortunate. No, Blade, I get it. You're just providing your perspective. I get it, and I'm just providing mine. You know, but you're talking to me, and I'm talking to you. Our disagreeing shouldn't be a threat to either of us, right? I disagree with you. I'm analyzing you a little bit, to be fair. That's just something I do. But it's not like I'm sitting here going, "You're a bad person." I don't know you. You don't know me either. You know this guy on the screen. You don't know me. People can disagree all day long. Maybe the audience agrees completely with you and says, "Well, there's Thorne defending Christians again. I guess I should stop following." Oh, well. I'm not here to try to build people to like a person that doesn't exist. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I'm not here to try to get people to come and pretend I'm somebody else. Okay, good, Blade. I'm glad you're not. I mean, I'm not saying you're mad. I'm not saying you're mad. Just saying in case if there is any contention, you know, I don't see your face. I can't hear your voice. I just see text on the screen. So
text can often be misconstrued.
Right. There is a conversation, not an argument. And there is a comparison going on. And that's fair. But I'm just trying to tell you that people have bad experiences with one or two people of an individual group, and they decide to hate the whole group. Now, I say this all the time. I was born and raised in an environment where I've lived a couple of years in a bad neighborhood. When I say bad neighborhood, it wasn't bad because it was a minority neighborhood, but it was a minority neighborhood that was bad. Okay? For a number of years, I had more minority friends than people of my own skin tone. It feels weird now because back then that was normal to me. Now it's like so many years ago that I feel weird even having to say it like that because I realize I'm pretty sure if I were to go through the list of people who follow me, there's only a handful of people of color that follow me. And I appreciate them because they know that it's like I'm open to that. Like so for some reason there does seem to be on the left-hand path, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of people of color as there is in other spiritual traditions. Maybe that's just my observation. I could be wrong. I don't see many. You got like Ace the Goblin, and I don't want to name everybody, but there's a few people in our Discord, and so it is a little weird for me. It's like one of those things where it's like I grew up with more black friends, and I haven't had like a close black friend in 15 years, 20 years, maybe longer. And I guess over 20 years. And to me, that's weird because even though it's been that long, I still feel like it's been like yesterday. I still have certain mannerisms and attitudes that I got from when I was hanging out with those people. Like my wife will notice, people will notice. Like I still have some of them. And anyway, my point is that in that environment, I ran into some bad apples. Okay. But by and large, 95% of the people I ran into, I mean, sure, there was quite a lot of, shit going on. I mean, it was a bad neighborhood, man. People sold drugs, people beat each other up. But by and large, 95% of the time, it was good people I was around, at least people that I got along with. But maybe 5% of them either wanted to fight me, did fight me, called me white boy and made fun of me for being white and had racist shit going on. And I didn't like them. But I didn't learn to be racist towards them as a group. Now, likewise, have I had bad experiences with Christians? You're damn right I have. Except I also know how to hide among them. I'm not worried about them. Christians are mostly, especially today, especially in the Northeast, I suppose if you're in the Bible Belt, like we've been saying, it's a different story. That's why when I'm looking for a place to live, I'm like, I don't know if I really want to move to these areas, at least not into the deep, rural areas, because I don't know what's going to happen, man. So there is some danger. I'm not saying there isn't. I'm not saying it's all like they're harmless. I'm just saying we have to have some temperance. Like, where's the temperance card? Pull the temperance card out and use that.
Well, to be fair, also, you do have some Christians in your family.
Well, everybody does.
No, I know. I'm just saying some pretty...
Fucking heck, I love you, dude. Hecka said, is D.H. Thorne the low-key J-Rock of black magic? Know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? You can't let me see me crying in the back of the squad car. Hide me, T-Bone. Whatever. What was that? Not the. Was it T-Bone? What was his name?
Tyrone.
Tyrone. No, his friend.
Yeah.
Was
Oh
Tyrone?
shit. Oh. Yeah, Tyrone.
I don't remember now.
Yeah.
I love that show though. We have to watch it again. I always thought I was more like Julian. All right, I give you some G-Rock. I don't know. I'm like Ricky and Julian had a baby. My friend I had growing up, Billy, he was fucking Ricky to a T. 100% Ricky. 100%.
You got a little bubbles in there too.
I got a little bubbles in me?
You got a little bubbles in you.
I got a little bubbles in me. I'll take that. I think we could all find a little bit of Ricky and a little bit of Julian and a little bit of bubbles in us. Are you talking about Wyatt's talking about the guy? You're talking about him? What's his name? I think if you pay him enough money, he'll pretend to be anybody. I don't know if he's actually legit. Like,
wait, what's his name?
You know that guy who does the, Normies, get out! He's got like the military outfit on. He's the president of Kekistan.
Yeah.
I forget his name. I think he'll do a shout out for money. He doesn't care about what you believe.
Yeah, I forget his name. I know who you're talking about.
Wyatt says, you're like if John Wick and the demon girl from the Occult. Okay. All right, that was a good one. That was a good diss. I'll take it. That's like when someone's making funny and you're like, don't threaten me with a good time. Like, I'll take that one. Like, yeah, all right, that's cool. I like that. John Wick and the demon girl from The Grudge had a baby. You should have seen when I had all my hair. Before I shaved sides of my head off. I was a fat fuck.
Be nice to yourself.
Oh, I'm totally nice to myself. That looks very purple on the screen.
Yes.
Wow, look at that, everybody. Ooh.
Unintentionally glows. I didn't intend for it to happen, but it does.
So I think we're going to be ending in a few minutes. Let's round the bases. You're going to be having some new products up this week, you said?
Yep. I'm going to do my best. I know I said it last week, but this time I mean it. I was going to have them up sooner, but I had a problem with the epoxy. It would not cure for the eyeballs to be adhered. So...
That's got like a Sword of Omens vibe going on. I like that.
Kind of glows. But yeah. I just gotta get the listings made. This is what I'm working on right now.
I like it.
And I have these I'm working on for somebody.
For somebody?
For somebody.
For somebody.
Somebody?
Somebody who's probably not watching will have to, it'll be a big surprise.
It'll be a surprise. Yes.
So, now Kamila, you did a little bit of researchy poo on the Guidestone stuff. Did I miss anything, or is there anything you wanted to say?
Oh, no, it was all...
I realized oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, it was all covered. It was all stuff that... I mean, I was just looking up little background stuff that I wasn't too sure about, and, you know... Most of what I know about it is all common knowledge anyway.
Yeah. And I think what I know is pretty superficial knowledge, too. I mean, there was a time I looked into it more, but it's one of those things where, like, you can only probe so deep. There's definitely occult symbolism there. They definitely have... there's supposed to be a time capsule under it. There's supposed to be... you know, some significance with the way the sun shines on it, and they've got a little thing in there like an astronomical clock. I like the red, by the way. That's really good.
I know. I love the... You know, I wasn't too sure about the red when I first did it because it looked like it was really pink because of the translucence of the scales. You know, but I think it came out pretty good, and this one unintentionally glows too. No, but I think someone should take a freaking jackhammer down there, crack that slab, and get that time capsule and see what's in it. I kind of, in my little brain that I have, I'm kind of in the assumption that it's probably a seed bank of sorts because of the whole apocalypse thing.
Well, they have one of those. That's in Iceland.
Yeah, they probably have another one buried under that, though.
No, I think it's supposed to be just a little time capsule. I don't know if it's supposed to be a book. I don't know if they even opened that part up. If they do, they better tell us what's in it. But somebody said there might not be one in there because the stone wasn't completed.
Yeah.
Like they didn't put the date on it or anything, like when it should be opened or anything. So
I think it's under there. We got a couple of super chats.
Thank you, guys. I just saw that pop up. Thank you, CJ. Thank you, Gar. 10 spot from each of you. Thank you, guys. You know, when you put that much money in, you're supposed to ask a question. This is like when you put your money in, you're supposed to get your fortune told. All
right, so tell their fortune. I'm putting you on the spot.
Ajna says you should try one with the eye on the middle of a side so you can use it as an inverted triangle. Well, we have the ones where the eyes are all over it, but I get what you're saying. I don't know, Kamila. Maybe do one where it is in the middle of one of the sides.
Well, technically, these could be turned upside down because the eye is pretty universal. Mm-hmm. It's no real right side up, so it can be turned upside down. On the back, there's going to be another hanger so that you could. Mm-hmm. Most of these have two hangers, so you can invert them.
I do think it's a good idea, though. I think they got a point, though. Maybe do one where it is in the middle somehow.
You know, I did at one point try to do that. The problem with the big round ones is they take up too much room.
Well, that's why you put like a little plaque or something. So it's just an idea. Just something.
No, I do like the idea. It'll give variation.
Because it's okay if it goes over the glass a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, if it looks good.
Yeah, because I got stonework that goes over the plastic anyway.
Yeah, just something to think about. Our feet shoes. Socks could be argued to be shoes, and shoes could be argued to be really hard socks. I don't know about feet being shoes, though. So. Yeah. Oh yeah, speaking of CJ, now he's supposed to be coming to the meetup too, as far as I remember.
Woo!
So we got to bring that up again. So don't forget, guys, if you missed out on the last stream, as we get closer, I'm going to be bringing this up every stream, but I'm also going to be actually announcing it at some point as a, like I'll make like a video and I'll put some posts up on like various social media and all that. But September 30th, unless something weird happens, the plan is that there's going to be a public meetup in Newark, New Jersey at QXT's. And we're going to be going to probably going to the Iron Garden event. Now that could change. Anything could happen, but I've pretty much agreed to it. So unless there's some kind of mix up, it should be then. If not, it might be just a date change or something. That'd be the worst. So figure Newark, New Jersey, September 30th. Be there. Be cool with us. It's probably $30 total for the whole thing because it's 10 to get to the event and 20 for the club. And we're going to be doing both. There's going to be an event for like 2 or 3 hours. Then you go to the club afterwards for as long as you want. Yeah, September 30th at QXT's in Newark, New Jersey. If you're in the remote area, come down and meet us all. Fleshy says he'll be there. So unless something happens, that's obviously months away. But he already put in for his time off, and that means he's going to be hopefully flying out here to meet everybody. It'll be the first time we hung out with him too, so that'll be fun. I don't know if that's totally official, but he did say it, so we're going to see what happens. So yeah, for you guys who miss Fleshy, he should be there. That'll be a lot of fun for everybody. Yeah. CJ asks, is there a form of attire for that? Yes. Presumably it will be Gothic. I've heard that the second and last Friday of every month is 80s night. I don't know if that means 80s goth or just 80s. If it's 80s, goth can still fit because, you know, goth was an 80s punk thing, 70s and 80s, and really it started, what we would recognize as goth really kind of took shape in the 80s, but it started before that. But, you know, I would double check. Well, I'll find out as we get closer, but until you hear otherwise, assume that it is going to be goth attire. Goth is a pretty open subject. If you see how I'm dressed right now, pretty much this, but with like fucking, where are they? But with like God boots on. So, you know, the way I normally dress, but even a little bit more duded up. So,
well, you know, it's a special event, so you want to dress a little nice.
Yeah, I want to look a little nice. Wait till they see you. God, I'm going to need a stick and I'm going to have to bring my fucking sword with me, motherfucker.
Now you're making me all nervous.
Yeah, well, you're making me nervous too.
You put me on blast here.
You're making me feel nervous.
You shouldn't do that, because now I'm going to chicken out.
Don't you dare. I'm gonna get you drugged up or something. We'll have to figure it out.
Maybe.
Ajna, I appreciate you guys who can't come, but if you can, if it's possible, we'd love to have you guys come.
Yeah.
And you know, obviously 21 and up. So sorry, Wyatt, but and for Nina, you know, I appreciate you too. But and everybody check out Nina's channel. She's a Q&A every Friday night. She has EA comes on her channel quite a bit too. So if you're missing your EA fix, check out Nina's channel. She gets EA on there quite a bit. Now, Wyatt, check out 80s goth. It totally does go together.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get what he's saying, though. He means like the 80s. Like when he thinks of 80s, he probably thinks of like Duran Duran and, you know, shit like that. Like, aha. Take on me. Fair. That was good shit. Hey, what's wrong with Depeche Mode? I like Depeche Mode. Yeah, I gotta hit him up, and I haven't heard from EA in a little while. I gotta hit him up, see how he's doing. See how he's doing. It's been a minute. He's been busy. I've been busy. I should hit him up, see if he's doing all right. I keep meaning to tune in his Odyssey, but I just never check it. So hopefully he's doing well. Hopefully he's getting his. Hopefully everybody's starting to come back to his channel. That'd be really nice.
Mm-hmm.
So I gotta check. I gotta find him again. So anyway, guys, For those of you who were expecting like magic and spirituality tonight, I do apologize if it wasn't really all about that. Hopefully next week we'll be back on target again. I do like to break it up a little bit. For those of you who understand where I'm coming from, you know why this is a big deal. There's a lot of people who still don't get it, but I think most of you guys watching this now are starting to get it. I think a lot of you guys are starting to realize, if you hadn't already, some of you guys already knew a lot. I think a lot of you guys, you know, if I started talking about this stuff, in the comments, give me a show of yes or no. If I started talking about these things 3 years ago, how many of you would have actually resonated with what I'm talking about? So say I would or I wouldn't. How many of you guys would have resonated with it 3 or 4 years ago? Let's say 2018, when I first started making videos. If I was talking about this stuff and talking about the New World Order and what they're planning, globalism, and how bad that is, and what we should be doing for freedom and all this kind of stuff. If I was talking about this in 2018, how many of you would have resonated with it, and how many of you would have said, I want to listen to magic, not this? Be honest. How many of you guys in the last 2-3 years have had your awakening begin to what's really going on?
Welcome to the club.
Yeah. I mean, I have a feeling it's going to be a lot. Oh, already we got 3 saying they would have. Okay. I would. All right, so I guess I'm preaching to the choir for the most part.
That's really good to know.
Crackbite wouldn't have known, but that's okay. I'm not judging if you don't know. I'm glad you're starting to figure it out. If you're not figuring it out by now, at least a little bit, I got questions about you. Like I really sincerely question your awareness. But if you're starting to get it now, I'm glad. I'm very happy for you. I'm happy, but I'm also sympathetic because you're coming in at a point when it's really hard. Mm-hmm. It's really fucking hard. When I figured it out, it was hard.
There were nights when I lost sleep over how pissed off I was and frightened, and you know. Yeah. And then it's like, you know, then you get mad. Yeah. Then you get mad and you don't lose sleep.
And you get mad at your friends too, because they don't, you know, we had friends going back forever. And when I started going down this road and realizing what was going on, and, you know, my wife figured some of it, not figured out, but she heard about some of this stuff first and I poo-pooed it. And then I found out some stuff and then I really found out and I fucking lost my mind for a little bit. And I tried to have these conversations with my friends. What were you going to say, sweet? I heard you start.
Well, a lot of them were pretty open to a lot of this at first.
Right, because I was opposed to Bush at the time. You know, when you're mad at if you're mad at Christians, everybody on the left listens to you. If you're mad at Republicans, everybody on the Democrat side listens to you.
I mean, back when Zeitgeist was a thing. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. They were all like, 9/11 was an inside job. We can't trust the blah, 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 Republicans. Now that it's the other guys in control, they don't want to hear it. Yeah. It's like they're the same people, stupid. Yeah. The same people that you were throwing rocks at in 2002 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 7 and 8 are controlling things now. But because they got a D next to their name and because they're talking about woke issues, you're shutting the fuck. You think it's fine. I'm a Nazi now, right? I'm a Nazi. No. Sorry. Don't have a Nazi bone in my body. Don't have no way. Damn it, Blade, why'd you vote for Biden? Why'd you do that?
Please be joking.
I don't want to know. Because whenever I hear some, to me, that's just like, no. You know, I don't, nope. I'm glad you're brave enough to admit it. Not many people would.
Unless it's a troll response right there.
I mean, it could be. I get why people might if they didn't know what was going on. You know, like I mock it, but I get it. You know, if someone's living in like a normal bubble, like the normie, if you're a normie and you're watching the news and you believe what they're saying, or you hear Christians like Trump and you hate Christians and all that, I could see why. People will sometimes make the mistake of thinking that because I am pro-Trump, that means that I adore him and like him and part of some. No, it's that I recognize which team he's on, right? And that's why. There was a time when if you go back to early 2016, when the elections were starting, and it was the primaries. Well, you picked the whole evil then, Blade, dude. You picked the whole evil. I'm sorry to tell you, you picked the whole evil. I'm pretty sure, I don't want to get into it because you picked the whole evil, dude. Just, it's not even a question. I think they duped you, my friend. I think they sold you the broken car. You may not like the one that we were riding in, but the one they sold you was like completely busted. In the beginning of 2016, Trump would not have been my pick. In fact, I hated his guts. When he first appeared, I wanted Rand Paul again. Originally, I wanted Ron Paul, but he got too old. Rand Paul was a challenger, and my vote was for him. As time went on and I saw how much the usual suspects hated Trump, then I said, if they hate him this much, the ones that I know are bad, then he's got to go. I mean, he's got to be the one. And that's that. Blade Cloak says, I appreciate church and state being separate. Anybody who thinks Trump is actually like represents church, you're swallowing the Muad'Dib thing. He is not, that guy is not, no. Nope. He's not that. That's, you're mistaking Muad'Dib for a Fremen, and he's not a Fremen. I'd like to see opinions if they ever decided to ban the sale of occult books, the Ned Flanders. Good luck getting around the Supreme Court with that one. It's not going to happen. You know, this is a lot of hyperbolic fear-mongering on both sides, to be fair. But it's not. A lot of this, you know, when the wool is pulled from people's eyes, some people refuse to let that happen, to be brutally honest with you. When this finally ends, the thing that's going to suck is that no one's really going to be able to say like, ooh, this is great, in my opinion. At least nobody reasonable. I think what you're going to end up seeing is, if we're lucky, the equivalent of whatever the New World Order is going to get at least pulled out of America like a tick, and we'll still have Lyme disease. And we'll have to clean that up for the generation. And I think you're going to unfortunately see a huge conservative revival that's going to have to be countered by sanity, not extremism. Unfortunately, Americans have been so dumbed down that all they understand is extremism these days. And I think there's going to be a big clash, but I think ultimately the moderate mind will win, and it's just going to be a little while. The next 10 years are going to be bumpy as shit. So. Yeah, and the thing is like, people like to demonize the other side with generalizations. If I see people doing that, I feel bad, and I feel bad when I do that, because I've done it. I catch myself doing that too. So if I sound judgy, I'm not. I'm actually, like, what is it they say? Like, we hate most in others what we see in ourselves. So there's definitely times where I'm being harsh, and then I'll catch myself doing it, and I go, fuck. So none of us has the total answer, okay? All I know is, if I oppose the Trumpy side, that's, unfortunately, we're stuck between, if I have to choose between Biden and Trump, it's going to be Trump every day. Is there people I would rather have than Trump? I mean, the guy's getting old. He's just a figurehead. Here's the thing. I'm losing my voice here, so it's a little hard. Here's the thing, people are making the mistake. And this goes for pretty much everybody here, probably me included, on certain days of the week. Trump is not the one doing this. Trump is like Biden. They represent a bigger shadowy group of people. Trump is the strong man, the blowhard, the PR guy, the shield for them. A lot of resources went into keeping him clean. He's been more investigated than anybody in history, and he can't get him on anything. That tells me not that he's innocent. It tells me that there is a system in place to protect and clean him up. Because the system that's going against him could find something about anybody. They could invent it if they didn't have something. They're trying to invent it now, and they can't get anything. Nothing that'll stick. Is that because Trump is just that good and innocent? I doubt it. You can't tell me the guy's been rolling in money this long and didn't do something shady. Of course he did. So Trump is not, like when people say, I hate Trump, that just means you don't like the salesman. But the company he represents is the right side. I'm telling you right now, in the historical sense, the side he represents is the right side of history.
It's funny how many people hear like his sentiments and they agree until they find out who said it.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true. Does that mean that it will work out that way? I don't know. This could get co-opted and twisted and broken at any point. The good guy side, quote, somebody give me quotes for good guys. The good guy side could win and turn into the bad guys, because that's what happens in history all the time. This happens in history every time. The good guys win, and a generation or two goes by, and they turn into the bad guys. Alexander C. says, I don't hate Trump, but I hate how culty some of his following gets. You know the reason they get culty, though? And I'm not disagreeing with you, but you know why they get a little culty? Because of the amount of dehumanization and demonization they've gotten for supporting him. When you demonize somebody, their natural reaction, if they're not going to concede, is they're going to double down. Because of ego, people don't want to say, well, they're wrong about that, they're wrong about that. So it does become a cult. Now, is it an actual cult? No, because I've already told you guys what I think an actual cult means. Just because you got a cult of personality around somebody, you can't blame that person necessarily. So it's not an actual cult, right? It's not a cult like that. Not that kind of a cult. But is it cultish? Yeah, some people are, you know, but some of that's a LARP too. You got to realize that some of that is a LARP. There's people who call him like God Emperor and all that shit. That's a LARP for 99% of them. We make fun of them too, right? There's things he's done that we get mad about. There's people going like, well, you know, he put out the first, you know, arm juice thing, and we don't trust that shit. And he tried to promote it. We're like, no. I know why he did it, though. If he didn't put out that first arm juice jab, do you think that we would be saying goodbye to COVID? Or do you think we'd still be in year 4 of it? Well, year 2. Feels like 4.
Might as well be.
If he hadn't warp speeded that shit, then we'd still be under COVID stuff. 100%.
The economy would have been completely bust.
Yep.
More than it is right now.
Yeah, but Alexander says, yeah, it starts as a LARP, but then some weirdo Christians take it to the... That kind of language is what I'm talking about, though. Some weirdo Christians. This is a highly... There's cults on both sides, on all sides of everything. I don't see the point in singling out Trump cultists when you've got woke cultists and you've got Biden cultists who can be literally confronted with what's going on that he's doing, and they go, well, he had to do that because of Trump. You got Trump derangement people. Look at what CJ said. If you voted for Trump, delete me. I know he's kidding, by the way. He put it in quotes for a reason. I had people at the minute I told them I voted for Trump 6 years ago, they started screaming Nazi, Nazi, Nazi after knowing me my whole life. I can't believe you'd vote for him. I thought I knew you better than that. What? He's a total racist. Where? What did he ever say?
Yep.
Did you ever hear the entire recording? You just heard the snippet, right? And this is the thing, is there's a demonization and dehumanization campaign that was instigated against the Trump side. So they turn into, as a reaction, defensive measure, they double down. However, if you go to a Trump rally If he says something that goes against what they want, they boo the fuck out of him, and people don't get mad at that. Trust me, he was trying to push the vaxxy stuff. And they got booed down at it. Alexander says, extremism everywhere. I agree and disagree at the same time. The extremism is spotlighted because it's hyperbolic media, guys. Understand that the average Trump supporter is not an extremist. The average leftist is not an extremist. Most people are somewhere on a spectrum that is not crazy. Are there crazy people for Trump? You damn right. Are there crazy people against Trump? You damn right. I don't see a difference. I think that's a distinction without a difference. There's crazy people, and they are a problem. And they're always going to be there, and they're not unique to Trumpism. They're not unique to the other side. They are literally in everything. They've always been there. You're just seeing them now. Part of the reason you're seeing them is because the media highlights whatever gets them ratings. Big tech runs interference for the side that they want to win, and it's not the Trump side. When people say like, oh, I'm resisting, what are you resisting? You're resisting an underdog who doesn't have any power, who's not in control of anything. The media hates him. Every corporation just about hates him. And the people that support him are the most demonized people in this country, it seems, because they say they're Christians. What group can you make fun of like you can make fun of? And again, I know maybe this is just because, you know, I tend to be a moderate in certain things. I look at things and go, oh, everybody's hating that group. Well, I want to get to know that group. Why do you hate them all? I want to know. What's so bad? Oh, they don't seem so bad. That's me. That's always been me. I have a thing, I guess, for underdogs. When people are criticizing, when someone gets demonized, I want to know why. And I want to know, do they have something I could use? Do they have something that maybe there's some enlightenment there that I'm missing? I like to get to know the demonized side. It's just me. It's not because I sit there and go, oh, Christians are so wonderful. I look at them and on the media, on Twitter and shit, I go, oh God, look at these people. They're just fucking Ned Flanders fools. I'm not into that. But I don't see a reason to destroy the people. So, people are missing a lot of the picture. Because so much of this stuff is magnified by the spotlight of media, big tech, movies. It's all spotlighted, and this is why you have doomers too. You got people on we'll say my side of these things who are doomers. They see no hope. They think that there's no hope, that we can't beat the New World Order. There's no way. Trump's an idiot. Everyone's an idiot, and we're gonna lose, and we have to go to civil war now or something, some stupid shit like that.
It's very easy to fall into that too, I'll tell you.
Right. And it's because the propaganda on the other side is very effective. It's very effective at making people feel like you can't win. And honestly, media propaganda is very effective, just period. Anybody who studies journalism and the capability of media and propaganda, I'm preaching in the choir. You know what they can do. I've seen it over my lifetime. Maybe I'm just a little off, and I don't see it. Like, I should say I'm a little bit off, and I don't get hit by it like other people do. Maybe I fall for a different type of propaganda, and I'm not aware of that. That's possible too. But yeah, no, because I see it on my own side. I remember for a little while I liked Alex Jones, and then I started to see where he was propagandizing, and I started to see, you know, that he was sort of, you know, liar, liar, pants on fire, and you're just selling shit now. Like, that didn't really happen. And at some point, I turned on him too. I'm not going to listen to you anymore, except for occasionally, just to see what he's saying. But actually, if you go back to Alex Jones in the 90s and the early 2000s, he was 100% right about just about everything. Mm-hmm. It's only when you got to like the teens that he started getting completely, like, I don't know, I guess around 2010 or so. He went to like some Media Matters meeting or something where like the other side tried to court him. I think they got him. They did something, and he went the rest of the way, and he started just lying for breakfast. It was just lying. Yeah, Alex Jones, Bill Hicks. Yeah, good old comedian. But he was right. If you go back to the 80s, in the 90s and early 2000s, if you listen to shit from then, he was way more rational, way more sane, and way more right about everything. He wasn't, if you go back to that, so much of what he said came true. It's the new stuff post, 2011, 12. That's when he started getting really goofy and wrong.
Well, he snuck into Bohemian Grove, so
yeah,
might have been where they got him.
Yeah, no, I often say I don't think he snuck in. I think he just walked in because he's a member. But
that's what I'm saying. Snuck in air quotes.
Yeah, they don't show the part how he snuck in, just that he was in.
That he was there.
Yeah,
conversing openly with people who didn't know him.
Yeah, Nina pointed out he must have sold out. All of a sudden, a professional set. Exactly.
Yeah. I
don't remember what the meeting he went to. It was something in New York City. He went to some dinner. And they licked his balls, and he even bragged about how much they loved him. And the next thing you know, his whole shit starts to change. So
probably the Bilderberg group that he always talks about.
Yeah. Look, I mean, put yourself in his shoes. Let's say he's legitimate, and you're undermining them, and you think that they couldn't find a way to twist him? You think they couldn't find a blackmail or a threat or a price? Everybody's got a price. Everybody's got a switch. I don't care who the fuck you are.
Everybody's got a price and everybody's got a past.
Yep. Sooner or later, you can get somebody on something.
It could be an off-color joke.
It takes an absolute fanatic to be immune to those things. I'm sure you could find a way to get me to do what you want. You threaten my wife, threaten me, threaten something I care about, threaten to put my bird in a blender or something. You could get me to do a lot of shit if you knew the right way to do it. And the reason people say, oh, then it means you're a sellout. No, I'm just being honest. Not many people would be. People are like, oh, I'd never give up to the New World Order. Yeah, well, if they showed up at your house with 10 buckets of money and, all your worst fears in a box and everything else, you'd crumble like some fucking year-old cheese, guaranteed. It's not. I don't think there's anybody that wouldn't. And that they wouldn't even have to hit you with like some mystical, MK Ultra shit. All they'd have to do is just do the same old shit that they do to everybody. A little bit of waterboarding will convince a lot of people to do some dumb shit. A little bit of enhanced interrogation will get you to do some crazy shit. So I guess the reason why I seem so supportive of Christians lately is because I recognize the way the winds are blowing, and I recognize where people are just being tribal, and on some level, I realize that the only way that we're going to win this is to get a galvanized group of people standing in the way. And you have to realize that one of the things the New World Order, etc., has gone after more than anything is tradition and religion. They go after tradition and religion. Why do you think they're so secular? Why do you think they push secularity so much? Secularity or alternatives that are subversive. Why do you think they push that? Don't kid yourself. There's people who listen to me and watch this, and they've got shit twisted in thinking that Satanism's like the good guys or something. They don't understand. I'm not criticizing Satanism, by the way. They don't understand that the reason why it was promoted the way it was for a while is it had a subversive effect, and it was an idea whose time had come. It was like a double whammy. That doesn't mean that the ideas are bad. I'm saying that it's what subversion always starts with a good idea whose time has come. Then it gets co-opted and turned into something else. A little bit of pushback against Christianity was necessary, 100%. Christianity's got, in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, 80s, that shit was off the charts, especially in the Bible Belt. That shit was bad. But at some point, it gets pushed into a point where now you're doing to them the same thing. And it turns into it's not any better. Maybe, I know I sound like a goody two-shoes because I'm not all anti-Christian, but I also recognize that things gone too far. We went from, you know, independence of spirituality to Christians must, you know, do you hear yourself? That's not right. Hellraiser makes waterboarding look like a child's tea party. Yeah, there you go. Give me some of that. Yes, Gar, you know, you're completely, Gar just put it perfectly. He says, Gar said, right now between Christians and leftists, I'm going to say wokists because not all leftists. I think all wokists, not all leftists. Between Christians and leftists, you're much more likely to be left alone by Christians. Follow me on Twitter. See how many Christians I have following me that don't mind that I'm a Luciferian, literally. Go follow my Twitter. See how many Christians follow me and don't have a problem with what I do. Look at Styx Hexenhammer. Dude's over 1 million followers. You think that's 1 million occultists? You think that's 1 million fucking Satanists and Luciferians? How many of those you think are Christians? How many of those you think are atheists? How many of those you think are people who don't see what he sees about spirituality? I'm going to give you 3/4, 4/5. There's no way there's 1 million people following him because of his spirituality. Guaranteed. He's not even very spiritual. He's a bookworm. He
puts out more content in terms of political stuff, in my opinion, than he does the occult.
Yep.
At least on YouTube and all that.
Yep. And I mean, if you look, I mean, I have a thing, it literally says on my Twitter profile, my pinned comment is something, I forgot, I'm gonna paraphrase. Do you realize how bad the progressive woke left has to be for me to hold my nose and side with Christians and conservatives as a Luciferian? And that thing, and it's of course the most liked comment. And there's Christians on there going, you know, who liked it. Christians, people who have Christian mom in their profile, they like that. So, you know who doesn't tolerate me? With the exception of everybody here, like obviously Blade and Cloak, you know, he tolerates me. He's cool. I can tell Blade's cool because they're willing to have the difference and it's not a fight. But you know who doesn't tolerate me? Woke leftists. Hardcore anti-Christian theist types. They don't tolerate. Well, I guess we don't have to tolerate everybody, I guess. But I'm just saying, ironically, the group that tolerates me more is them. As of late. So cut that, you know, think about that however you want. I'm sure there's a lot of Christians who would hear this video and still want me silenced. I'm sure. They're not going to be like, oh, Thorne's a Christian now, because I'm not. Never will be. There you go, Alexander. I agree with that right there. Perfectly. I mean, the idea is to respect people's belief system as long as the way aren't hurting people. That's it. That's in a nutshell. Why is it? It shouldn't be anything else. That should be it. And sometimes people do things in the name of a belief system that doesn't go for everybody of that belief system. Like when people get mad at Muslims because there's terrorists that are Muslim. I was among the first group of people in the early millennium after 9/11 to start saying, wait a minute, why are we blaming everybody who's Muslim for this?
Yep.
That's not true. They didn't all have to do with that. That was a couple of lunatics. Why are we blaming all of them and treating everybody with these attitudes? That's crazy.
The majority of the Muslims that came here after that were seeking asylum.
Yep.
Because of the way their nation is so fucked up.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to make this all, I kind of did tonight, made it into like a lot of Christian stuff. But you know, I don't want to harp on that too much. I think, you know, it's one of those things that it's a point of contention. I see people who think that, you know, Roe was taken down because of Christians and blah, blah. Christians are cheering about it. And you could say that it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for them. But Roe was a bad idea. If you're actually pro-choice, you need to realize that Roe was a bad idea. because Roe didn't give you choice. Roe didn't actually do it right. In fact, in the decision that was rendered about it, there was actually language in there that explained what grounds would have been better, meaning there could have been better grounds for it than the one that they did. And careful, Jesus might get you. Yeah, every year Jesus Christ rises from the grave to give people presents, apparently, on Christmas. It's pretty cool. Couldn't even save himself. I mean, again, look up Gnosticism. Look up people, you know, we bash what the Christian religion tells us, and don't even, like I said at the beginning of this lecture here, go back to the year 100, go back to the year 200, go back to the 50s. In other words, 0050. Go back to those periods and see what Christianity was. It was nothing like what you see today. It was a bunch of cults. Some of them would have been demonized would have been actually quite comparable to Luciferianism or Satanism today. Some of them actually used the sulfur cross. Just saying. Look it up. Some versions of Christianity would have been identified as satanic today. Just look it up. Just please do. It's interesting shit. It's not, you know, people go, oh, I hate Jesus. You don't. That's fine. You hate the religion of Jesus. I'm not even sure the thing ever existed. I call it the Jesus event. Did he exist or not? I don't know. A lot of people wrote about him, though.
Well, it's kind of like the whole Ragnar thing.
Oh, yeah, it is a little bit like that.
You know?
Yeah, like Ragnar Lothbrok. It could have been like 5 people as one story.
Yeah.
And obviously some of it's mythology.
All just crammed into one person.
Yeah. That's right, Alexander. You're very perceptive. Carl Jung was very much into Gnosticism. I don't know if the Nag Hammadi, when did they find the Nag Hammadi? In the 40s? I forget when they found that. But he talked about the Pleroma was actually the origin of his archetypes ideas. The aeons and all of that stuff was actually a byproduct of him studying Gnosticism. You're correct. Now, Gnosticism wasn't just Christian. There was Christian Gnosticism, there was Jewish Gnosticism, there was Gnosticism that came from Egypt. There was all kinds of Gnosticism, by the way. Jewish Gnosticism you would recognize as you know, a little bit of Kabbalistic stuff, you know. So it depends on the version. There's a lot of different versions of Gnosticism. But Christian Gnosticism was a spectrum of shit too. That's right, me too. Jesus wasn't a Christian. You're right. Good point. Gnosticism is an interesting study. If you take the time to study it, it's like the occult version of Christianity. It is the forbidden Christianity. Look it up. You might not, you might learn something interesting. Yeah, Jesus was the Christ, and his followers adapted the name. Yeah. If you read the Nag Hammadi stuff, you don't have to read it all. At least just get the cliff notes of it. It's pretty interesting stuff, and it's kind of enlightening as to why they demonized Lucifer so badly. If you want to know why Lucifer was demonized so badly by the church in the mythology, there's a reason for it. Lucifer was hardly even mentioned in the Bible, and when he was, it was a mistranslation. Except the Gnostics had a way of looking at Lucifer as an emanation of the monad sent to liberate us from the demiurge. The demiurge is, to the Gnostics, the equivalent of Satan, and that's Yahweh. Becomes a little anti-Semitic. In, I think it's Sethianism. Becomes a little anti-Semitic, just a little bit, we would say. A little anti-Jewish. And by a little, I mean a lot. But it's interesting stuff. So, I suggest you study it. In fact, you'll hate Orthodox Christianity more if you do. If you study the Nag Hammadi stuff, if you study Gnosticism a little bit, and you don't like Christians right now, you'll like Christians even less. I gotta be honest with you. Like, I say this as if it's like some kind of way to like redeem Christianity. It's really not. It actually will make you hate Christianity more, because it's like we could have had a much more interesting, tolerant religion here, you know, potentially, than the one we got. Yeah, Yahweh, the desert spirit of Abraham, the former tribal war chief that was deified as brother to Baal-Hadad. And eventually the balls of the Canaanite religion, you know, the Jews finally said to hell with this, and they splintered off in their own cult. And they said their God killed the other gods and so on. The history of Judaism is pretty bloody and interesting in that split that happened. Because actually, that's why I like Esoterica, the channel Esoterica. It's a Jewish guy. Very, very smart, very educated guy. Holy crap, that guy's forgotten shit that I'll never know. And even he admits that the Jews were Canaanites and all of that stuff. And it's really, he's a good channel to watch. Very fascinating stuff. He's not an practicing occultist, but he's a learned occultist. Yeah. Well, Yahweh, I don't think originally was El. I think it became El. I think Yahweh was for the Jewish cult, basically the Yahweh cult was, I think that was a tribal war leader, a war chief that was deified in legend and eventually achieved the status of one of the Baals. I think Yahweh, you know, Yahweh Elohim, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. It's just, it always struck me as they sort of moved him into El's spot, right? Like because you have to understand the Canaanites had a triumvirate system, you know, a Trinitarian system as well. You had, I like to look at it from the Sumerian Akkadian thing. So Sumerian Akkadian, Canaanite, because the Canaanites basically had a lot of the same gods from the Sumerians and Akkadians. But you had An, Enlil, and Enki. And that represented kind of like the entirety of the sky, the sun, and the other side of the sky, or something like that. So I forget what but it was kind of like, if I forget what it was, but it was basically God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, basically. And they had their own Trinity version. The Holy Ghost would have been the sky. The Father would have been the sun in the sky, and the Holy Ghost, and the Father would have been the sun in the sky. The Holy Ghost would have been the sky. And the Son would have been, I guess, like the manifested, like Jesus or whatever. So. That's right, CJ. And that's, CJ says, in the Bible story, he's called Yahweh when he speaks to Moses. I am the God of Abraham and his sons, but they did not know me by the name of Yahweh. Yahweh, it means I am that I am. It's tetragrammaton. It's, you know, Yahweh V'hovef, or something like that. I don't speak Hebrew, but it means I am that I am. That is the most egoistic way to say you're God ever. This is why the Gnostics saw him as the demiurge, because the demiurge is basically the egoistic self. It is ego in the grand sense. So Yahweh, you know, if you're theistic, you don't get it. If you get these symbolically, you get it. Yahweh is the symbol of the ego, and at least to certain traditions like mine. It's a symbol of the ego, the ignorant ego that thinks it's God, basically. But it's not. And the real divine wouldn't even say I, it would just be and is. It just is. If I'll put it to you like this, if you've ever actually experienced or achieved any level of samadhi or actual gnosis, I don't mean gnosis like knowledge, I mean actual mystical gnosis, you've de-objectified the self to such a degree that you're aware of only awareness itself. It is existence, pure existence as awareness. There is no I in that moment. The I is disobjectified. Ego death has occurred. You realize the divine is the self, and the real self, not the personal self. When that happens, a lot of this conversation we're having turns into, why I mock it a little bit is because once you've had that experience, you realize all these gods are like arguing over whether Superman could beat Batman. It's absurd. It's like, all of these are kind of nonsense. Oh, I think you disconnected and came back, didn't you, sweetie?
For me?
Yeah. It did. The bloop, bloop, bloop.
Did I?
Bloop, bloop, bloop. Yeah, just for a second. You're back now, though.
Oh, I had no idea.
Actually, Alexander, you know what movie I want to see? I want to see Paradise Lost turned into a movie. I want to see that turn. I would pay to see that movie. Actually, make it a mini series. That'd be dope. Really play it up too. Like, you know, give us a little sympathy for the devil in there. Really do a good job, man. That'd be a good shit. I mean, I got to tell you guys, my own personal mythology that I use for my work when I'm working through this stuff this way, and I focus mostly on non-dual stuff. But when I'm practicing more of a theurgic practice, I actually use Paradise Lost, at least thematically, to inform the way I encounter these spirits. So there's a reason for that. But I think it's a really good one. You know, it's a really good system. All right, I think I'm going to have to go. My voice is pretty much shot. What do you think, sweetie? Are we good?
Yeah, I was actually just going to interject that I need to.
You need to.
I need to.
Yeah, and if we're talking about Paradise Lost and Dante's Inferno, there's nobody better than Doré's artwork for that.
That's gorgeous.
Check out Doré's artwork. Oh my God,
gorgeous.
Gustave Doré is my favorite artist of all time. Always will be. So just so you guys know. So all right, guys, I think that's it. Let's clip the wings off this bird. To everybody who joined me tonight, I appreciate you being here, and we're talking mostly about Guidestones and shit. For those of you who see it differently, you know, as long as you're not militant and want to destroy me, we're cool. But I hope you guys wake up to realize the truth of what's going on. I hope that you guys, you know, just remember what I'm saying as you witness what goes on in the next few years. Witness how close we come to the edge of, you know, what will be one of the worst things that could possibly happen. Watch what's going on in other countries, as Canada is they're setting up to lose their freedom of speech there. You know, all of that stuff, keep an eye on and see if us conspiracy theorist guys are in the right. We might not be right in specific, but I know that we're right in general. And as this time frame goes on, you're going to see that gets revealed, and the crises are going to get worse until they get better. In other words, as the truth comes out, it's going to get worse because it has to. It's just like when you find out there's a burglar in your house. It doesn't get better just because you found out. Now you got to do something. Well, we're approaching the time when things have got to change. There's going to be a pendulum switch. When that happens, chaos, all hell's going to break loose. I guarantee it. And you better be prepared for that. You better have your food, your preparations, your spiritual sanctuary, the whole works. Because when this shit pops off, I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know how bad it's going to be. Maybe it'll just be a bad day. But just, you know, what do they say? You know, it's better to be prepared and nothing happen. So, all right, guys, that's it. I'm talking too much. Say goodbye, sweetie. Tell them you love them. Blow them a kiss.
Have a wonderful evening, everybody.
Right, there we go. All right, guys, check you later.